Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears, Sikkim, Monterey Baldwin.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
19-year-old true freshman quarterback stepping in for the injured Matt Corral, and then being brought down. Bryson Jackson with the sack and the turnover on downs.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Sports, Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak. Hopefully we're back in studio on Monday. At least the majority of us will be back there on Monday, and Craig and I can regain some normalcy in this. But got a big show planned for today. David Ubben of The Athletic joins us to talk about roster turnover in college football at 3:30. We're going to re-rack the Van McElroy interview from a couple of days ago that we had because he was just so damn good. It was such a fantastic interview. Those of you who missed it really need to hear it. It's really great. It was fun. Van, not only a former Baylor and Raiders defensive back, was an NFL agent for a long time. So we get to talk Baylor, we get to talk Raiders, we get to talk John Madden, we get to talk NIL, and all these different things that are going on in college sports and his unique perspective on it. So he'll join us there. Sam Bradshaw, S11 from our site, Sikkim365.com, breaks down why Baylor was able to dominate defensively like they were in the Sugar Bowl at 4:30. And then we'll talk Ode to Joy with Tweety Carter, one of the first pieces to the puzzle here at Baylor for Scott Drew, one of the most highly ranked players in the country when he committed, and probably the most shocking commit he got early on in his career. But Craig, I mentioned roster turnover, and right off the bat here, we've got, again, transfer portal news as former Texas quarterback Casey Thompson, the son of an OU legend at quarterback, is now transferring to Nebraska. So not only is he cutting his own path by going to Texas with an OU quarterback, the other big rival was Nebraska back when his dad played, and he's going to Nebraska too. Check your mic again, Craig. We lost you. Yeah, I can't. We don't have you, Craig. There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now.
Nothing, like literally nothing's changed. So like I don't know. I'm losing it at this point. We were just talking before we started, so I don't know. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird that, being the son of an OU legend, he's gone to like the two main rivals of his father's old school now. I don't know, like, if that's lashing out or just weird the way the transfer portal works and how life works. But yeah, Casey Thompson in Nebraska is an interesting move. Adrian Martinez had already made the jump to Kansas State, and so we're going to see if he can't, kind of salvage some of his college career and, get a fresh start and maybe be able to show off that athleticism and not so much of the mistakes in Manhattan and, be a difference maker for them. But clearly Nebraska needs somebody too, with him gone. So we saw kind of a glimpse of what they had there at the end of the year. And I certainly don't think that gave you much confidence going into this season, knowing that Scott Frost would be back, that, that's who you were going to roll out there. You needed to go to the portal and grab somebody. And, Casey Thompson's not a bad get at all. I know that Texas fans weren't completely sold on him, especially when there was always a carrot dangling for somebody better, like a Quinn Ewers dream scenario, which, kind of makes me wonder how long that scenario was unfolding behind the scenes, almost like their Big 12 departure. You know what I mean? That Quinn Ewers thing just seemed like that was going on probably well before we were even talking about it, honestly. But they clearly felt like they weren't right in Austin at QB. The way that was handled all year was just kind of strange between he and Hudson Card. And, then once Ewers came in and you had Malik Murphy sign, I think he just probably saw the writing on the wall and, made that decision. And so he could have ended up at a lot of different places. But I think Nebraska makes sense, They'll play in the Big Ten, not that far from home. And, obviously you got a coach that there's question marks about, but that has had some success in the past offensively in Scott Frost. So, I think that he's a good pickup for Nebraska. I don't know that he's going to, turn the program around, but I think he can be an upgrade to what they've had, or at least be good enough of a playmaker and a game manager to win them some games that maybe Adrian Martinez lost them, or you just, be there and be a steady hand for them. So I like the pickup for Nebraska. I think he'll do well there, and I'm not sure, if he jumps in as a starter right away, but that's a good one for him, a good choice for Casey Thompson.
I think the big shift is that Casey Thompson, he had a 24-9 interception or touchdown to interception ratio this year as the Longhorns quarterback. That's pretty darn good. It could have been better. I mean, that Oklahoma State game alone was just kind of just a tragedy for him offensively, but especially in the second half. But I do think that where he'll balance things out is he's not really reckless like Adrian Martinez tended to be. I think Adrian Martinez is in the situation he needs to be. I said it yesterday. Chris Kleiman will make him play Chris Kleiman ball, and Scott Frost is maybe a little more comfortable with him taking those chances where Chris Kleiman won't, which is good for Adrian Martinez. And Casey Thompson will help Scott Frost, by not turning the ball over. I mean, this is a team in Nebraska. If you flipped all the one-score games that they had this year, they might have been in the Big Ten title game. I mean, that's how close their season was and how little things undid their whole year. So if he can flip some of those, I mean, look, I don't know if they're going to haul off and beat Michigan or Ohio State next year, but if they can go 8-4, 9-3, then Scott Frost has a reason to stay, and they can not feel like that was a big waste of money to bring Scott Frost in. So I like Casey Thompson in Nebraska. I think it's a nice steady Eddie move. And while it's not going to knock anybody's socks off, more than likely, Nebraska doesn't need to knock people's socks off. They just need to win games that you're winning for 80% of the game. You don't need to lose late. You don't need to do those silly things. And I think Casey Thompson can help you do that.
Yeah, I mean, they really were cursed in terms of finding ways to lose games last year. I mean, it was unbelievable. And it wasn't just at the quarterback spot, but, I mean, it was incredible to watch how they managed to lose games. Like, it was an art that Nebraska, I mean, it was the way that they just ran through this whole season. So, yeah, I agree with you that he can protect the football a bit better than Adrian Martinez did. And I think it's it's a low-risk, high-reward scenario for Nebraska with Casey Thompson. I mean, even if he's just average, that's still probably a bit of an upgrade over what they had, so long as, like you said, he protects the football. Because that alone would have won them a couple of games last year, just simply protecting the football. So, yeah, I think that's a good move for them. And I think, too, I was doing like a final power rankings for the Big 12 last night for the website, just like a post-bowl, recap and kind of power rankings, because look, we're getting ready to get into the spring and these February classes and all that, and there's going to be so much turnover and change, and there really already has been. But in looking at Kansas State, finished 8-5, and that's kind of about where they finished last year. But you win your bowl game over LSU, and no, that was not the real LSU, like in terms of they had less than half the scholarship players available. So, I mean, like there's bowl opt-outs and there's like guys not playing in bowl games. And then there's LSU. And like that wasn't even just their players. That was their coaching staff. I mean, that was like the skeleton crew of all skeleton crews. Regardless, K-State won the game like they should have. And that's a bowl win. And that's going to go in their trophy case. And that's a win number 8. And that's good. And that's all that really matters. But I think them getting Adrian Martinez, if he can protect the football with his running ability, like he could be nasty in that offense, dude. Like he could be a difference maker for them on that offense. But again, he's got to protect the football, and that's his biggest issue. So I'm with you. I think Chris Kleiman can probably get the best out of him. I think Scott Frost can, get the best out of Casey Thompson, hopefully, and it'll work out well for both parties.
Yeah, I think so. On both on the chat and the text, Eric and Lubbock, guys, with all these OLs coming back to Baylor, and Connor Galvin did confirm he is coming back. So Connor Galvin will be back. Jacob Gall will be back. Grant Miller will be back, and I don't think we've heard finally on Khalil Keith yet, Craig, if I'm wrong, but I think he's coming back as well. So 4 of the 5 starting offensive linemen, they just got to fill left guard. But his question is, with all these offensive linemen coming back to Baylor, what are the chances Baylor gets a big-time running back in the portal? I'd want to run behind them and get the numbers that Abram did. That's from Eric and Lubbock. Look, Craig, I don't think they really need to look at that position in the transfer portal. They've got some young guys and some other guys. But look, I mean, you're not going to say no to anybody if a big-time running back is in the portal.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to look at running back, and I don't know if that means that they'll sign anybody, but I do think they're going to look there because, obviously last year they didn't feel like they had what they needed in the spring, and that's why they went and they made the move with Abram Smith, and big credit to David Wetzel for being the first to suggest that to Jeff Grimes, and I don't know if people heard Jeff Grimes, like, because we kind of wondered throughout the year, like, who was the guy that really, broke that piece of information to Jeff Grimes. And for those that maybe never heard it from him, because he did explain it in one of his awards press conferences, like one day they're sitting there, it's the end of spring ball basically, there's like a few practices left, and I remember like back in, like we actually got to visit and be around during the spring a little bit, and I remember just kind of wondering, they kind of referenced, we need Treston to run straight downhill, we need, like it sounded like they had some guys but they didn't really have the guy. And then sure enough, they moved Abram Smith there towards the end of spring ball. And Grimes said that he was around the facility and he was just kind of complaining, airing his grievance over the fact that they just didn't have the right running back to do what they wanted to do. And that's when David Wetzel said, well, hey, Abram Smith, he played running back in high school. He was really good. Of course, that's when he signed with Baylor. He was a running back out of Abilene and had just moved to defense prior to that. And he said he went to Ron Roberts and said, hey, is there any guys on defense you would be willing to part with that you think could help out? And right away, Ron Roberts goes, Abram Smith, absolutely. He would be great for you. Well, would you mind? No, go right ahead. And just, that was it. That's how Abram Smith became the all-time leading rusher in a single season in Baylor history, was that, couple of exchanges. But having said all that, Abram Smith's gone. We know that. That leaves a bunch of young, unproven running backs. And I like Tay McWilliams. I like what little we saw of him, especially earlier in the year. I know that Richard Reese is right up their alley in terms of, what they're looking for as a running back. And he had a really great senior year, but he's still going to be a true freshman coming in. And then there's, a couple of other guys on the roster like Jonah White can't seem to stay healthy. And, Craig Williams can't seem to stay healthy. And I don't know how much he's really their style, in this style anyway. So, I think saying all that there's some guys, there's some options, and there's maybe a couple that you feel good about. But I don't think there's anyone surefire enough that you're going to pass up somebody potentially in the portal. I think they'll definitely look at running back. If there's somebody right in there, I think they'll try to throw their hat in the ring. Because, again, it's just, kind of unproven right now, even though there is some talent in that running back room. But to get back the offensive lineman they're getting back, wow. I mean, that's massive to get Connor Galvin to kind of be that final domino. And you're right, we're waiting to hear on Khalil Keith. But, seems to appear to be he might be leaning towards coming back. So that would be pretty much the whole crew from a tremendous offensive line this year, and that alone adjusts your expectations mightily for Baylor heading into next season.
Yeah, look, there are teams around the country that transfer portal or no transfer portal or, like what would kill that 4 out of 5 offensive linemen back if they were all sophomores. All these guys, you're talking about, you're going to have 4 super seniors essentially along your offensive line, and then the best of the rest, and I would probably think that Micah Muscuza, I think that's how you say his name, is the one who probably takes that left guard spot. He'd be the leader in the clubhouse going into spring. But they all took gigantic leaps forward under Jeff Grimes and Eric Mateos. And, whatever the running back is Tay McWilliams, Jordan Jenkins, or anybody else that you mentioned, or, transfer running back to be named
Jenkins,
later.
But yeah.
Jordan Jenkins to me might be the guy. I mean, Tay McWilliams will be the starter going into springs, but Jordan Jenkins was the high, big-time, stud running back recruit. He's the kind of guy who at 18, looks like he's 24 already, body-wise, and might be able to step in. So we'll see there. I think they've got a lot of potential there, but, they're not going to say no to anybody. I would think that if they're going to get in the transfer portal at a skill position, it's probably going to be wide receiver, considering what they're losing. But
yeah, I think they're gonna be open-minded to probably about everywhere. I don't think there's really any position you look at that they wouldn't probably, gander and think about. Okay, we'll see how good. Because really, like wide receiver, they definitely have nothing proven really coming back. There's not like a number 1 wide receiver or even a top 3 receiver returning. Tight ends, I think you feel good if there's a position that you feel good about, it's probably tight end. Mm-hmm. Because pretty much all those guys appear to be coming back or on schedule to. We'll see. I think Christoph Henley, I don't know what his situation is, but Ben Sims is supposed to come back, and then the rest of the guys are pretty young. But O-line, you're always going to be adding to the O-line no matter what. Even if everybody comes back, you're still going to always be adding there. So if there's the right guy, maybe that's somewhere that they take a look. But probably not a tight end, but receiver for sure. Running back, if it's the right guy. Quarterback will be interesting to see how they kind of address that this offseason, if they feel the need to address that. And the defense, I think you're looking at pretty much everywhere where they could add somebody. So they're going to be heavily involved in the transfer portal. I don't think they're going to go grab 10 guys. Last year was just the 4, and that 4 worked out really well for them. But I wouldn't rule out them taking a transfer running back unless they were to get into the spring and Jenkins and Reese and White and McWilliams and whoever else, unless they just wow them, which they did not last year. But now you've got Jordan Jenkins and Richard Reese, et cetera. I would expect that running back will be something they take a long look at. But who's to know who's going to even be in there in that portal? It's been so fast and furious, guys going in, coming out, trying to track that. Maybe there's ultimately somebody they don't like, but if there is, I bet they do give it a look.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I was surprised that they were only at 4 transfers last year, coming off 2-7, which looking back now, knowing what we know now, it means that we like the roster that we have here. And, it really was like COVID was a thing. Of course, we didn't know, you don't really know how much COVID affects or this or that or the coaching change and everything. And they were happy with the roster that they had and then peppered what they needed, which was, 2 guys in the offensive line and a wide receiver and Siaki Ika and all of them. That's the other thing. There are teams that will take, probably 14, 15. Like LSU is going to have to take 15 guys in the transfer portal. They're going to have to. Like just to get their numbers up, maybe even more than that. Tennessee had to do it last year. Now, how many of those 15 guys are really going to contribute, and how many of them are just trying to get, well, look, we need 3 defensive backs. Well, who's the 3 best that we can get in the portal? And all 4 of the guys that came in contributed greatly to Baylor. They were 4 for 4.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought Estrada was solid, and there was a few plays he felt like maybe he could pop it. He never quite popped like the big play or the big special teams play, but he made some really solid catches for them that were important on multiple occasions, and helped move the chains. He was a good addition, and he ended up being, by when all is said and done, their number 3 receiver thereabouts, and definitely contributed in other ways outside of just catching the football too. And then the other 3 that you mentioned, Siaki Ika, he's heading full steam into being a first-round NFL draft pick. Not this year, but probably next year. I mean, if he keeps progressing the way that he is, a big nose like that, I mean, he's going to get a lot of looks from the NFL. So, and then the 2 offensive linemen who we now know are returning. I mean, that's 4 for 4, baby. And that's part of why you won the Big 12 championship and why you won the Sugar Bowl, is because you nailed your roster additions. And, for a team that was 2 wins, last year, I mean, they had a pretty good roster, obviously. They 4 transfers in your recruiting class. That's all you really changed. And that same team won, 10 more games than they did the year prior, which is pretty insane. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of how they dabble in the portal. How much do they do prior to spring? How much do they do post-spring? Because we know there's going to be post-spring activity as well. So they haven't done anything just yet. I think they're basking in the glow of the Sugar Bowl still, and why not? That was a big deal. And, a lot of others are out there selling, hope and whatnot, and they're selling hardware. So I don't know that they're in a real hurry, or maybe they've just found that guy just yet. But, man, a lot going on. Like, they're fresh off that game, and you get to take a little bit of a breath, but then you got to immediately start looking at the transfer portal. You got to start talking to your guys and talking about who's coming back, who's not. And he's got to start getting ready for this second signing day as well. So the grind never stops, but they've gotten really good news this week on the return front. R.J. Sneed's leaving. So there alone is a veteran wide receiver, that weakens your room a little bit. But outside of that, and I'm sure there will be other departures, but outside of that, you have to feel really great about the announced returns this week. I mean, that offensive line all coming back pretty much, 4 out of the 5. That's huge news. And you just need to get Blake Shapen healthy and make sure you got, what you need at every other position. I think that offense will be good to go into your number 2.
Yeah, I agree with you, Craig. I think you've got, again, you got to figure out those wide receivers, and they've got some guys that were highly touted for sure. Jalen Ellis and Seth Jones and Jackson Gleason, that they all felt good about when they came onto campus. We just haven't seen them yet. Monterey Baldwin and Hal Presley probably start out as starters in spring, I would think, because they played the most of those young guys. And then we'll see, where it falls in line after that. So this is a team that has more answers than questions, and I think that's a good thing. I think you want to have, like, I always said, like, if you have more than 5 questions that you don't have answers to, you're looking at a 6-6 year. If you have more than 5, then you've got a problem. But if you got 5, if you 5 or less, you're probably, Alabama never has any questions. Who's going to be that? Doesn't matter. Like, that's why they are who they are. But, as you go up, a team like Baylor, you have about 3 or 4 questions right now. What you're going to do in the transfer portal, who the wide receiver is going to be, who's the left guard going to be, and how do you replace some of the guys in the secondary? I think otherwise you're pretty good.
Yeah, you definitely have some, it's one thing to talk about the offense and just, pretty much every position at a tight end you might be taking a look, but I think, defense, you're taking a look everywhere. You replace Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie and JT Woods. I mean, that's a lot alone, just those 3 guys, and there's more. But, getting Christian Morgan back will be really good news for the safeties and for the defensive backs, because you were looking at there and they lose all their corners. Or at least, on paper, they lose Kalen Barnes, and then they'll lose Raleigh Tejada. And, good news would be that Al Walcott would be coming back, and he looks like he's well on his way to being a really good player for you, and had just an absolutely massive pick six in the Sugar Bowl. But then you worried about your safeties both being gone, and now Christian Morgan's returning. So technically you went from thinking your whole secondary might get wiped out to Al Walcott earning a starting job by the end, and Christian Morgan now coming back, and you actually have like 2 out of your 4, 2 out of your 5 DBs coming back. So that's better than expected. And, linebacker, you'll still have your Dylan Doyles and your Matt Joneses. Defensive line, Apu will be back, amongst others like Gabe Hall maybe is finally ready to take that next step. And I think they will need to probably, address maybe every position group with a guy or two through the portal or what have you. But, yeah, I mean, on paper they look set up, and, doing those power rankings as well. Just taking a look at how much changeover there's been at other schools already. I mean, Texas is going to flip like half their roster. I mean, really, they're going to have like 40 new guys on the roster next year. West Virginia, they've had, if you count the guys who have already announced their decision or are just in the transfer portal, the number's like 20, dude. I mean, legitimately like 20 guys that were either in the portal or were in it and have chosen their new school. I mean, that's tremendous amount of turnover. And you got, Neil Brown on the hot seat there. Oklahoma, I mean, they're already churning that roster over, partly because they have to replace guys because so many of them bolted after Lincoln left and the season wrapped up. But now, obviously Venables wants to put his own touch on things as well, and they're having to recoup some of those losses. So they've already been hitting the portal hard in like the first week since he's really been on the job. Tex, going to the portal. I mean, everybody's going to be going to the portal and changing things up. And I think you look at it and depending on what happens the rest of the way, I mean, Baylor, for all the experience that they had, they might be one of the least turned over teams next year in the conference again. I mean, when you really look at it, roster-wise, they're not going to hit the portal as hard as some of these other teams already had, and they're not scheduled to lose as much as maybe some of these teams have already had. So, I kind of find that interesting that they could, if you take like the current roster and then what percentage is on it the next season, I think they'd be one of the higher teams on there most likely, barring some just unforeseen exodus of players. And that's really kind of fascinating in a way, because you think they would be one of the lowest just based on a run like this. Typically means you're going to be turning over that whole thing the following year due to seniors and all that. But with some of these announced returns, I mean, that's 4 offensive linemen, a safety. That's 5 guys in the last week alone that all are coming back. Yeah. So, I mean, that's 5 losses I was expecting potentially. Instead, it's 5 returns. So, that's big news for them.
All right. In the neth segment, David Ubben, theathletic.com, talks to us about roster turnover and what he, how he says that can maybe fix it. And what teams should do to stem the tide of people diving into the transfer portal. Then after that, Van McElroy, former Baylor and Raiders defensive back, talks to us about many, many things. It's a re-rack of interview from earlier this week. It was just so good. We had to play it again. Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak from our domicile. Smokey is on the mend, and we'll keep you updated on that. But Smokey's on the mend. We'll hope to be back in studio on Monday. This is Sick 'em 365 Radio on 365 Sports.
This month, it's all about the championship drive as our hometown team celebrates the Big 12 championship and a Sugar Bowl win. So can you in your new vehicle from Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco. During the Start Something New sales event, shop for power, performance, and reliability from our selection of the new 2021 Ram 1500 Lone Star. Are you planning your next adventure? Choose from a range of Jeep models, including the 2021 Jeep Grand Cherokee. Take home the trophy from Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
In a lot of situations, they should, and they're going to be better off by leaving. But I don't know that it's best a lot of the time. And I get a little bit frustrated when people sort of romanticize the "he stuck around" thing. But I think for me, the biggest issue is guys sometimes leave and have to learn the hard way that the grass is not always greener on the other side. And sometimes they get a very devalued degree or no degree. Or, you know, there's been guys that go in the transfer portal and sort of end up not coming back out. I think right now, we're sitting at about 1,500 guys, FBS players in the portal. I think about 1,100 of those are scholarship players. And, you know, it's early. There's still a lot of movement left, but you only have 30% of those guys who have announced a future destination. And you know, come spring practice, and we'll get to May through the spring semester, well, there's going to be more than a few guys that don't have a home and guys that regret that decision. So, like I said, I'm really torn big picture because guys should have the ability to leave. But I've seen so many guys leave and end up in a worse situation for themselves, and that's hard to watch.
Yeah, one of the things I think about the transfer portal is if you're not a patient person, the transfer portal is not going to help you anyway, because you're going to have to go anywhere and be patient or earn your spot. I mean, the only people who have it good are quarterbacks, and there's good things. I mean, for the transfer portal is great for guys who maybe were under recruited and can show something. You know, like Bailey Zappi on the higher level, or guys who just don't fit at the Power 5 level and can, or the FBS level and can drop down to the FCS. But there's just so many different facets of it. Like when you see Caleb Williams, he can go anywhere he wants, save for maybe 2 schools, and he could probably go there if he really wanted to, but they just don't need him in Ohio State and in Bama. But everywhere else would knock every quarterback out of the room to get him. And I don't think that's what the transfer portal was intended to be about.
Maybe. I mean, it's tough. I again, for him, they talk a lot about pro potential and Jeff Levy and this sort of Baylor offense, and it looks like Oklahoma is going to be running. Guys have not had the greatest track record of being prepared in the NFL. So I can't necessarily blame him, but it's crazy to me. I wrote about this in the piece. You just look at this on paper. There's so many guys that would kill to be a starting quarterback at Oklahoma. A program that's obviously done, that needs no introduction. And he's not going to face a challenge next year. He's the starting quarterback at Oklahoma, and he's saying, no, I want to find a better situation. And he might be able to. Who knows? But it's just crazy to see that. And I kind of touched on this in the piece as well, the impact of NIL money, and that guys are in a situation and somebody tells them, hey, we can hook you up and you can make more money here. Hopefully they're right. Hopefully they can. But I've heard from a lot of coaches, that are a little frustrated with this, that you hear kids being promised stuff and you hope that that's true. And it's really early in the NIL era. We've only been dealing with this for 7 months now, but you're hearing kids being told stuff that's kind of a tall tale, and maybe that ends up being correct. But when guys are making decisions on their future based on promises that may or may not be becoming true, it makes you feel not real comfortable about the future of the sport, I think, which sort of led me to write that column yesterday.
It also would surprise me that of all the places in the world that Oklahoma, like being the quarterback at Oklahoma, couldn't get you NIL money. I mean, it's not like he was the quarterback at Western Kentucky and is going to Oklahoma. He's the quarterback at Oklahoma already. So to me, I don't think his decision, like you said, it's more probably about the future than it is about NIL. Wherever Caleb Williams goes, he's going to get some money.
Yeah, that's no question about that. And like I said, I can't begrudge him for the decision, because you look at the history of guys in this offense. They haven't had a lot of success in the NFL level, so I can't necessarily blame him on that front. But at the end of the day, it's still alarming to see that, and hopefully he'll end up in a good situation. He's sort of an interesting case, because I think he can end up in a better situation. I totally understand his reasoning for doing so. But the whole thing it's very weird. It's very weird.
Well, look, I know you guys are behind a paywall and don't want to spoil anything, but you have a pretty simple solution, don't you, for stemming the tide?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think as it stands, I understand all the complaints, but schools have no right to dictate where guys go or when they go, because you're not paying them. And they have some freedoms with NIL money. They have freedoms with the transfers, free transfer, which they should have always had. But the way you tie this down is you pay players, you put them on some contracts that lock them down, because if you're paying somebody, you do have a say on where they can go. And that's fair. That's not being, exploited or exploitative. So that's the only way that you fix this, is taking the next step and paying guys. Now, I would write in the piece, there's a lot of hurdles to that. There's a lot of issues to that. There's a lot of difficulties to that. But the economic model for college football has been so broken for so long. I mean, do we need waterfalls and barbershops and recording studios and, $10,000 lockers in facilities? No, you don't need that, especially when your chief labor is unpaid and your coach is making, now we're broaching into 8 digits per year of $10 million coaches. It's wild. Well, the economic model is so hopelessly broken that if you're going to do this and you're going to pay contracts and be able to limit where guys can go, you have to blow up the whole model. And long overdue. I'd love to see it because the model is just impossibly broken. So getting there is going to be tough, but if you want to stop this transfer stuff and having basically a fantasy draft every single offseason, which I don't think is good for the sport at all, that's the only road, is to take the next step and go to where you should have been a long time ago.
I think the 12-team playoff will slow it down a little bit, but not enough to where people would notice. You know, there might be some guys that stay because now you have a shot at a title that where you wouldn't before, even at Power 5 schools, but. Even then, it's still going to be, there's 1,500 kids in the portal. There might be 1,300 because a couple hundred stay at places that like, oh, well, we're close. I'll stay at Houston because now we're a Big 12 school and we got a shot.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's part of it. I just think that all this turnover is really not good for college sports, and it's hard for coaches to try and build a program. And, some of the romanticism of kids have got to learn the lesson and they're soft and entitled these days. I don't buy a lot of that. I think it's not necessarily entitlement as much as, guys taking every advantage that they can. I think sometimes you can learn by staying. I think sometimes you can hurt yourself by staying. But again, I don't think it's good for the sport. I think people are going to get tired of this every year when, you got to see, well, how many of my guys on my favorite team are going to leave, and you're going to add a few guys and try to get to know all these guys. I mean, I think one of the things that hurts college basketball, I think college football is sort of toying with right now, and that people don't know where guys are, where they are, who the good players are, where guys are going to be. And if you got to figure out, hey, I watched Caleb Williams, almost win the Heisman last year. Where is he playing this year? I don't think that's good for the sport. College football has always been at its strongest and its most popular when you have like a Bryce Young coming back, like a Johnny Manziel coming back, a Tim Tebow, these mega stars in the sport that are coming back that have a ton of name recognition. And when everybody's got to figure out the casual fans, because the casual fans are who take the sport to the next level in terms of popularity and in terms of being able to make money and all these things. And if those people don't know who's good or who to watch out for or where people are playing, I think you're going to get a checkout factor that you really don't want.
Yeah. All right, let's talk Georgia and Alabama on Monday night, David. These are two teams that, pretty much benefit and don't suffer from the transfer portal at all. I mean, I guess you could make the argument that Justin Fields leaving was a dent for Kirby Smart, but outside of that, I mean, he's got a pretty high batting average when it comes to it. But the rematch is kind of what everybody was expecting all year long. I don't know if it's what everybody wanted all year long, but it's kind of what we all expected to see. Was Georgia and Alabama in this position? Your thoughts on this game, and can Georgia scrub the memory of by far their worst performance of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't blame the people who don't want to see this game again because we have already seen it. But these have been the two best teams all season long. They did win their way to get into this position. And I think the rematch is going to be very, very interesting because the first game played against script so much. I said on a podcast, my podcast, Football and Grits, our SEC Athletics, our SEC podcast on the Athletics, I don't know how Alabama's going to move the ball against Georgia. This is them coming off of, they didn't score a touchdown until the last minute against Auburn, who wasn't going to set the world on fire defensively. And sure enough, they put 41 points on the board on what looked like, to that point, the best SEC defense in a decade. We'll see if Georgia lives up to that. If they can shut down Alabama on Monday night, I think they can sort of come close to regaining that crown. But what Alabama was able to do in terms of protecting Bryce Young, getting to the secondary, which is the weakest spot of Georgia's defense, was amazing. So we'll see if Georgia can counter that. So I think the adjustments are going to make for a really legitimately fascinating game on Monday night. I'll be down in San Antonio watching that from ASBA. But the folks who are going to be in Indianapolis watching that ball game, I think are going to get a really compelling contest.
the well-traveled David Ubben of The Athletic with us. We just saw him in New Orleans last week for the Sugar Bowl, now on his way down to the River City in San Antonio for the AFCA convention. David, thank you so much for being with us, and always great. And please subscribe to The Athletic. I know that there's some news with you guys yesterday, and I hope that doesn't change too much for what you guys are doing. I mean, can you guys share anything about that, or do you know much yet? I know there was a conference call yesterday, and I'm sure it's still new, a little new for you guys.
I mean, it's an exciting day for us. I think it's a validation of a lot of what we have done and what we've tried to build. And for subscribers, not much has changed. Our vision still stays the same. Our goal still stays the same. We want to write stories that you can't get anywhere else, and sort of set the conversation for college football. And if you like The Athletic to this point, new ownership shouldn't change anything, because the content's going to be the same, and we are going to continue to try and do the same type of work that has earned us so many subscribers to this point. So it's an exciting day, and we are excited to keep it rolling.
Well, Dave, that's great to hear, because it's one of the few subscription sites I do pay for, because you guys do such a great job, not just in college football, but in everything. It's worth your subscription, and you guys always have great deals anyway. So it's not like no matter what, it's going to be worth it for anybody who signs up. David Ubben, The Athletic, with us here on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Have to deal with it, but we're joined now by Van McElroy, former Baylor defensive back, longtime Raider, and this is the first person from the Raiders I've talked to since I sat as a fan at the Cowboys-Raiders game and listened to those fans in Arlington, no less, just go Raiders, and know that if you're an opponent, you got to hate it, and if you're a fan of the other team, you're a fan of the Raiders, you're gonna love it. If you're a Raider, you got to love it. Van, thanks so much for joining us today. Smokey's out. He's under the weather, but certainly glad to always talk to you. First off, just curious your thoughts on the defensive performance that Dave Aranda pulled off with your Bears on Saturday night in New Orleans.
Well, hello, guys, and thank you for having me on, giving me a shout, and have an opportunity to visit with you guys to start off with on the Raider Dallas game. There were also a group of people from Uvalde, Texas that were there. So they had their Uvalde Coyotes shirts and everything on too. So, okay, to the most important part here. The defense that Baylor has right now is just, in my opinion, outstanding. I think from top to bottom, what I mean by that is your D-line all the way to the secondary. I think they play well together. I think they're aggressive. They do some things up front that are really good, and they have the personnel, as I look at it and see the players, to sort of pull some of those things off. So it is excellent.
Van, to see Dave Aranda and what he did coming in, obviously not the best situation walking into COVID, and the program, I think the players were probably a little bit down after yet another coaching change. They'd finally gotten to a point where they were winning games again, and then all right, here goes now, a coach leaves again, and here comes this really quiet Aranda guy, and then they had this first year where they don't really have an opportunity to get to know him that well, but you see now where having that full offseason certainly helped. He makes some coaching changes, brings in some guys, and just the year overall. I mean, to go from 2 wins in the COVID year to 12 wins, a school record, Sugar Bowl, Big 12 champs. I mean, just an unbelievable run. Your thoughts on just kind of the total package of 2021 for Baylor?
I think he did it, to be quite honest, I'm shocked. I mean, I sat there and watched. Everybody watched what was going on, and then just the difficulties, certainly that were going on at Baylor. Then you lose a guy, and the players, and just being a smaller school. I mean, and the recruiting and all of those things, and so you sit there and you go through a season, and you're going, okay, where's this headed? And all of a sudden, this happens, and it really is outstanding. It's just awesome, and the idea of this head coach and what he has accomplished, I think, is up there with anyone because of what he got into and how quickly he has really turned this thing around. And I think he's done something, very well from the standpoint of, they did it with defense. Not to say their offense, they're running back, the guys can't make some plays. I mean, that's no question they can, but it's not what I would call just an explosive offense where you're throwing the ball everywhere, where you just, it's Air Coryell type of stuff going on. It is straight at you. They do a few little things, but you can they sort of tell you, listen, this is what we're kind of do. and you have to stop it type thing on offense. But on defense, at D-line, the pressure they put on the quarterback, I wish I would have had a chance to be around Woods a little bit, get my hands on him a couple of years. I think the guy should have had 8 to 10 interceptions. I really do. He has that kind of talent. But no, I think that's what he did. That was probably the smartest part of this whole deal. Is said, you know what, I got to get my defense together. If I get that done, I have players and athletes on the offense. We'll make it work. And I think he did a great job with that.
You mentioned JT Woods. I was just about to ask you about him. If I had to put the player that would jump out at me as the one Van McElroy would probably identify with, it would be JT Woods, a guy who can catch the ball in the secondary and who's not afraid to lower that shoulder. What do you think his NFL prospects are as far as, I'm sure he's an NFL player, but where do you think he fits in draft-wise and career-wise?
We'll see. I think, size, we'll see what he runs. And both those things kind of go together. Obviously, if his speed can be what it needs to be for the draft, and I say the draft because once it's over, it doesn't really matter. I mean, you still have to run, and he can run. But we'll see. Whatever that 40 times is going to be, it's going to be. But I think that what he does have with his athleticism that a lot of guys don't have, especially sometimes you find your speed guys. I mean, I played against the greatest, Willie Galtz of the world. I can go down the list of all the speed guys that are out there. They tend to be a little stiff, and they and they're not super instinctive. But this guy is really instinctive, and I've just watched him, and that's what I was saying from my own perspective. I think there are some things that he can do that will really kick his instincts in even more to where, as good as he is at finding the ball, his angles to go to the ball, and I'm using words, guys, that people don't really understand. They may think they do, but they don't. Those things were outstanding when I watched this guy.
Yeah, JT's he's a tremendous player, and I'm very excited. I know he's playing in one of the All-Star games. I forget which one off the top of my head, but he's going to have that opportunity as well. What do you think it means in terms of, the Big 12 with the whole Texas and Oklahoma news over the summer? I'm not sure what your thoughts were on that time. But to see, Baylor go out and win 12 games, to see Oklahoma State go out, they win 12 games. I mean, Oklahoma, they're still in the Big 12. They finished on a high note despite their whole coaching situation there with Lincoln Riley towards the end. K-State gets a win last night. I mean, the Big 12, in the face of a very uncertain summer just a few months ago, how do you think the conference kind of followed that up with this following season, and what do you think the prospects are moving forward for the Big 12?
I think they're great. I really do. I think they have the players. They have, and you really look at it, and you look at these coaches, and they may not just name-wise, just really blow people over, but these are good coaches. I mean, they really, really are, and they bring something special to that college and to those group of guys. Certainly with Randa here at Baylor, but the other colleges the same way. And K-State is one of those places that has always had players. Even when I owned my agency, and we'd go to K-State because no one wanted to go in there. It's hard to get to. So we would go because they were always players. I mean, Jordy Nelson, I can go down the list of guys that came out of there. They're just great players. But that program seemingly has a way of getting those players in there that can play well, and then they coach them up and do extremely well. So those teams, I think, are great teams to have in the Big 12. I think they proved a point this year. Baylor obviously doing what it did for the being what was their ranking? What did they ended up? Have they come out with that yet, or?
No, that'll come out after the national title game, but I'm thinking they're going to be top 5 for the first time ever in the final poll.
I would think so. I mean, think about that. Here's a team that could barely win or find itself a year ago, and now it's top 5. What does and plus what does that do for Randa's recruiting class? I mean, it just, all those things are so beneficial to he and his coaches and what they're trying to accomplish. And so I just see nothing but great things for the Big 12. I see nothing but great things for Baylor going ahead. And, I think what they've established on defense, and we certainly did. And I look at our defense that we had, back in the day, the D-line of Charles Benson, Joe Campbell, Henry Mellentree, Max McGarry, Tommy Tabor. I mean, those guys, we had obviously Singletary in the middle, Doak Fields and Lester Ward. And then the back, it was just an unbelievable secondary back there with the guys we had. And so I just think that they have got 11 guys on the field. Obviously, they have others that can come in, but they've got people out there in those most important positions that I think they continue to win, even if the offense struggles at times. I really do.
You say Mike Singletary, and I think of you and Mike Singletary in the same defense and the way that you guys hit so hard. There's probably about a 12-yard zone of every single play that if I was running a slant or a post, I would not want to be in. Just not worth it to me in my ribs.
It shouldn't be, and that is the whole point of it. I know for me, and Mike and I talked a little bit about it. Just the film of what you might want to see the opposing team. There are times I might sacrifice a late hit to get a flag just to let the guys watching the film see that you're a little off, things aren't just completely straight with that guy back there. And so that was all fine with me, but when you establish, the rule of that, and they're hard because from a safety's perspective, if you're going to suck down on that quick slant, you've got to be very, very clear that's where the guy is going to throw the ball, or else you're going to have the backside run a deep post, and then you're in trouble. So all those things come together. I'm not going to kill y'all on just reading and understanding that, but the bottom line is, the idea of hitting these guys when they come in the middle certainly plays well for teams that are watching that. Those guys see that, they realize it, and there are guys that I've watched where they're coming in and the ball's right to them, they just drop it because they think they're going to get crushed, So, yeah, and Mike, obviously, Mike, Mike is Mike. I was scared of him, and I was on his team.
Yeah, you got to send them. You got to send a little warning shot, and then they're a little bit more hesitant after that. There's no doubt about that. Ben, I know that there's other things we'll probably like Raiders and stuff that we'll get to, but one more thing about Baylor football. You kind of touched on it a little bit, but just Dave Aranda. Watching him, obviously he's not like some big personality. He's a very quiet guy. Very quiet and reserved, and we only got to really talk to him over Zoom last year, but he definitely opened up and, kind of showed more of that personality. And I don't know, he's a very unique guy, obviously super intelligent when it comes to the football side of things, but also unique, off the field as well. But just what have been kind of your thoughts from first seeing him as a hire and, getting to know about him to now how you've seen him kind of evolve over the last year and a half or so? What have been your impressions on the growth of Dave Aranda as a still young head football coach?
I think there's a couple of things that would stand out to me. First off, he is a quiet man, but within that, I think, number one, he has a plan. And I think he understands his plan, and he knows how to implement his plan. And I think that silence in there is just part of that he knows what he's doing. He doesn't have to go blab it to everybody. The other part of it is that in that, the guys have watched him now for a year and a half, and they really, really, really do trust him. That is evident to me as I watch the players. I can go back to Grant Taff, and guys just trusted this guy. And I can tell you, there are coaches around that they're great coaches, but guys don't totally trust them. It's interesting, but it's very clear to me that the players trust this man, and he has a plan. And so when you get both those things going on, everything becomes very clear. And that's the difficult part sometimes when you're coming into a place like Baylor where it's lost coaches, you've had issues, or the young men. And again, these are young guys, they're teenagers, some of them. And so they're coming into something, and they've had parents around, they've had people they can trust. Now they're going somewhere, what's going to happen? And all of a sudden they have this man come in their life, and they feel good about that. And so it allows them, and I know I don't want to not trying to get too deep here because I'm not a real deep guy, but it allows them to play their best game. But when they can trust somebody and they know the plan.
Van, I'm curious your thoughts on name, image, and likeness, coming from the background that you do as not only a college player at one time in your life, but also an agent who, for a long time, you were allowed to come and talk to players on, what their like little agent days or the windows where you can talk to guys as they try to make that decision. And now it's wide open. It's the Wild West with name, image, and likeness, and how you think that student athletes and players should handle that kind of business going forward as they get into it and get those kind of opportunities.
Guys, I will say this from my perspective, it's complicated and only time will tell how all that will play out, because the egos become very large in the NFL. And part of that obviously has become a very me situation because it's all about money. And in those teams, and matter of fact, we just lost a guy that was just really, really good at this, and that was John Madden. And watching him and how he handled a team, but also my coach, Tom Flores, who I was very fortunate able to fly up, brought us a bunch of guys up to Canton to see his induction and be with him. But these men were men that and why I bring in the word trust in a big way. And really had a way of crushing, making sure that ego of the player wasn't involved. But today, the dollars are so large, and my concern is from the college perspective. First off, I agree with it. People have no clue how much time the athlete has to put into this game, and then also go to school. I mean, it is incredibly crazy the hours that go in a day for all of this stuff. It used to be waking up at 6, going to an early morning, workout, whatever it may be, so you could get to school, and then you had afternoon, and it went all day, and then the evening you had, a study hall, and it was just an all-day deal. And when some of these guys bring a claim to the school, because they do, okay, and I get it. I understand both parts. The school is also giving them a free education, which is huge. They don't have to come out of pocket for it. So where does it all end? I guess in my eyes, I don't know where it ends at. I don't know that the possible problems it creates with, first off, the individual who begins to think they're better than the team, and the other part is those elements of society that begin to come in and make it ugly. That I don't know how that's going to all end up playing out. It's just to me it's very complicated. They've opened this thing up and you used the right word, the Wild Wild West. I mean, it could really be that way. Only time will tell. I'm hoping, for me, when I came in to see a player from the agent perspective, I was very open with the parents and the player. That, you have to understand, how you're going to make your money. And that's being a great player. Forget all this other junk. Forget all the marketing and everything. That's wonderful. Those things can get done. You can have a part in that. But if you do not play on the field each and every play, you commit yourself to your team, all those types of things, all that stuff will never happen. It's a bunch of junk. So I'm hoping that these guys, as they come into this, certainly there will be those that can sit them down and have those conversations with them and try to keep them focused on the most important thing in this whole process. And all this other stuff is just that. It's stuff. It's great. You'll be able to make some money off of it, help your parents, whatever it may be. Wonderful. But understand it for what it is. I don't know if I made any sense with that, but there you go.
Oh, yeah.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and we've wondered about that as well. And like you said, with anything else out there in the world, there's always going to be some seedy characters, wanting to get involved, and you got to be wary of that. So who knows where it's going, but definitely.
Does it include the parents? Did the parents get involved now? Do they? Do you have to pay? It has the potential, guys, to get so sticky, and I just hope it doesn't. And I do think that the teams will need someone maybe simply assigned to that, to making sure the players, are in line. And when I mean in line, I'm just meaning that they're all understanding, constantly about the most important part of this thing, their education, which it really is, but their commitment to team and their play, because all of those things ultimately will get them where they want to be. If you have the ability to play in the NFL, man, play your tail off. You do well and you have those, those assets, those skill sets, then you're going to go play and you're going to make a ton of money. Don't forget about that in trying to get, $1,000 for something.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. Just a moment ago, you mentioned John Madden, obviously, fortunately passed away just a few days back, and it was bizarre, Van. They had just done the documentary, and I saw where apparently he did have a chance to catch that actually just a couple of days before he did pass away. But we actually had Tom Flores on the show afterwards to talk about it a little bit. Your thoughts on John Madden, his place in the game of football, and his passing just a little over a week ago?
I think it's a big loss for the NFL. What he has done for the league is he has done as much for the league as anyone. All of the off the field things that were created, and what have you, were just awesome. But his ability to kind of change how commentators actually, try to get football over to the common person who's watching it on TV now. He really broke it down for people to help them understand, what that receiver was looking at, what shoulder he was going at, depending on what route they were running at, or what they were doing from a blitz perspective. It's a guy, and I'll just say this: Baylor did an excellent job of what they did in their pass rush, and it's with these guys. It was just amazing. But Altu would come in, basically get that guard, kind of nudge that tackle a little bit, and then the linebacker would come around, or the D end would come around in a sort of a swing or a loop and come around him, and it was wide open the whole game. They sacked this guy 10 times?
10 times,
yeah, they could never figure it out, But things like that, he was really good at explaining and helping people, helping you or the public understand just what was going on the D-line. He had a way, common sense of talking to the player. I wouldn't call John an intellect. I don't think he would suggest that. He was a common sense guy, and he approached it that way. He was a good listener. And here again, what makes a great coach is a man that the guys, and again, most of the guys that go play are very street smart. You know what I'm saying? They get it. And it may not always be it may not work out the way they want it to, but they understand someone who's honest with them. And John was that guy. You just went there and you felt like he was being super straight with you, really honest, and the guy was funny as could be. It was just, he had all of those characteristics of a guy, that could get players at that level, and at that ego, if you will, to really come together and play really well. And so it's going to be a guy I think that's really going to be missed in the league. And he's a great guy, man. I enjoyed him. Good man.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. I don't think he just changed the way color commentators do in football. I think he changed it in all sports. If you just look at like pre-Madden, post-Madden, how people did color commentary in sports, he made it very okay to have fun and kick back and not just talk about things that were over people's head. Like, he never talked over anybody's head. I don't think you knew him, but I didn't know him, but just watching him, he could not, if he tried, talk over someone's head. It was not in his DNA. And now you've got, a generation of commentators in sports that know, like, look, you're not talking to just coaches and players. You're talking to fans. Talk to fans. Enjoy it. Have fun. Make it fun for them.
And even more so, you're talking now to more women. There are more women watching the game and becoming a part of the game, or whether it be referees or whatever, but they've worked hard to try to bring that group of people into the game. And he literally would bring it down, that's probably not the proper way to say that, down to level, but at a level where someone who really doesn't care that much about football could really understand it, and so it was all levels of this is where he came from, I think, and what he's really done for the sport. And goodness gracious, we're going to miss him and his whole bus thing and his whole, when he was around, guys, you just knew he was there. It was an aura about him, and it wasn't because he was popping off about himself or coming in trying to make everybody, hey, I'm here, guys. You just kind of knew he was there because you just felt good about yourself, and those guys again that are that way. And again, I bring it back a little bit to Tom Flores and Aranda, a little bit. They have a unique ability when they can get a group of guys like that to come together and play together and win. They have a unique ability to make you feel good about yourself. And it doesn't matter your situation. When you're standing there talking to them, they're not talking down to you. They're not doing any of that stuff. They make you feel important, and everything they're saying, you actually do listen to. It's hard to explain that type of person, but when around them, they're just special, and you kind of want to be around them. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but it's just incredible the way these men can come about in life, and you look out there and go, oh, wow, man, they won a lot of games. That coach did really well. Well, there was a reason they did that, and there was a reason they had great success. And whether it's Grant Taft, whether it's Aranda, whomever it may be, for the most part, these men are men that allow players to get close to them and feel confident and comfortable about being around them.
Van, you talked about, we touched on his name a couple of times now, Tom Flores, and I mentioned that he was with us last week to talk about the passing of Coach Madden, but we did get a chance to talk to him before and also, after the big Hall of Fame announcement a few months ago. What did that mean to you to see Tom Flores finally get that Hall of Fame call?
Oh, everything, because the guy deserved it. The guy was a stud, and he was a quiet man. A lot like Aranda a little bit. He was just quiet, kind of. He wasn't, John was boisterous and fun, and Tom was kind of quiet, but still had that same feel about him. You just, again, like I said a while ago, you just felt real good about yourself when you went and you were next to him. You left feeling very confident in who you were and what you're trying to do, and so that part of it is just the guy was a stud. He deserved it. It was fortunate for me. He actually, my ninth season, I got traded up to Seattle, and I joke about it sometimes. I was asked to say a few words up there when we were there, and I just thanked him for trading for me up to Seattle and put me on scholarship for a couple of years, because that's kind of what he did. I was able to go out there and make some plays for him, and interception here or there and a fumble here or there, whatever, some tackles. But for the most part, it is what it is, and it was good. And but he was just really good to me, and so I just really think a lot of the man and what he stands for. So that was fun going up there and seeing a lot of the those guys that are there, that just the guys coming back that were on that team. And we talk about teams. That Raider team, guys, is one of the most incredible group of athletes and players you'd ever want to be around. Let's see, in the Super Bowl year in '82, there were 9 of those guys went to the Pro Bowl, and that's pretty amazing. 3 guys and 3 guys in one secondary went to the Pro Bowl, and I laugh because I don't know if the players just kind of just sucked it up and said, I'm sorry, we have to vote for all 3 of these guys. We just have to. You sit there as a player on another team going, man, 3 of these guys on the same team going, I can't do that. It just gets kind of funny. And to be honest with you, the other guy, Mike Davis, in our secondary, should have gone. But there's no way they could vote for all 4 of us, But and see that. And so with Tom, with John, I know I'm getting ready to head up to Houston here, head over to Houston here in a couple of days. We just lost a good player and teammate with the Raiders, Bruce Davis, one of the largest human beings on the planet, but he was an offensive tackle and a really good man. And so that makes 2 this year, Mike Davis, who was a strong safety, and Bruce Davis, Both those guys are just good guys and wonderful guys. And talking to Walter and Cedric and Mac and Walter Abercrombie, and those guys, and we have a texting group every once in a while. We text a little bit, and we're getting old, and life is short, and we all need to get our act together and enjoy the short time that we have left, and make sure we're around each other. And that's important. And it's certainly, guys, y'all calling and talking about these coaches and just different teams. I'll be 62 in January. I can't even believe I said the word number 62. It's just insane. It is just insane. And so, but that's what it is. And so, but it certainly makes me look at that, all of those things, the players, the coaches, and just feel so blessed to have been around the Tafts, the Singletaries, the Abercrombies. Walter and I were captains together there at Baylor, and just all those guys. We were just so close and so tight, and I guess it's synonymous with having a lot of success. We had a lot of success because we're probably close. That's part of it, and there were some really talented players there too. So all of those things it's just, man, I look at that, and y'all mentioned, Tom and that stuff. It just makes me realize how blessed I am to have been around those types of guys, man. It really was.
Van, we could talk to you for 4 hours. Honestly, It's been great talking to you. Thanks for hopping on the show. Really great taking down memory lane. And look, if you're up next year for a game, we'll get you in the studio so you can see our new digs and all that. But thank you so much for hopping on the show and enjoy the new year as much as you can. That was great to hear. That's a great message to end the interview on, about spending more time with people, because the last couple of years we haven't gotten to, and we should really reach out and enjoy the time that we're here.
One other question, guys: has it gotten below 90 degrees there yet?
Yeah, it has actually. We did have a little bit of a cold front, but I think it's like 70 today. So it's.
Dude, I'm down here in Uvalde, man. It's amazing. I mean, it's like, goodness gracious. We were just laughing the other day. So anyway, I'm rambling now. So thank you. And it's all good, man. Love you guys. And by the way, Walter, I talked to him earlier today. I got to take Ken Cedric fishing. I promised I would. So we'll be doing that sometime this spring. And goodness gracious, those guys are always on me. So it's all good. Thank you.
All right, Van, thank you so much. That's Van McElroy, former Baylor's and Raiders DB, with us, and a longtime NFL agent as well. Craig, such a great perspective on so many different things that you can go across the board because of his life experience.
Yeah, if we had him on a little longer, I would ask him just his thoughts on the Raiders being in Vegas now, and kind of how they've settled in there, and just being somebody who was a part of the old regime. That's got to be awfully interesting just to see them in that environment. After all the years in LA and Oakland. But yeah, I mean, clearly just you could do an hour podcast with him easily on just the Raiders time period or just the NFL time period, but certainly on just the Baylor time period as well. And, cool to hear his perspective on Dave Aranda and on, JT Woods. I'm very excited to see what JT's NFL stock looks like. One thing I know is JT's going to be good regardless of what happens in football. I mean, football's obviously going to bring the most money right away, but a very intelligent young man that truly you don't have to worry about life after football with him. And I think that's the case with a lot of these guys, which, I think a lot of people probably look at their teams like, oh, it's just nothing but good guys. And everybody kind of feels that way for the most part. But, you really can truly say that about a lot of these players on this Baylor team this year, because we've watched them now for the last 5 years, grow up and go through more than some go through in a lifetime. And they come out of the wash that much better for it. And JT is definitely one of those guys. But, yeah, with his size, 6'2"-ish, with his speed, which I'm curious to see exactly what that is, 40 time-wise in a combine setting and all that. But he's going to do well for himself. I have no doubts that JT will do well for himself and get an NFL shot. And, I'm looking forward to now, and hopefully – here in the next few weeks, everything cleans up enough that where we get to have that big full-blown NFL pro day with the players, because they've been kind of having this in the works now for a couple of years, where you looked ahead and you thought, well, all right, a couple of years ago they had James Lynch. James Lynch was a big deal, but Bravion Roy, James Lynch, those types of guys. And then last year, it was kind of hit or miss. It wasn't a huge crowd for the guys, but there was a couple players, obviously. But this year, though, between Abram Smith and Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie and JT Woods and so on and so forth, Tyquan Thornton, I'm very hopeful that we get to see a full-blown, coaches can show up in Waco and watch these guys work out, open to the public type of pro day, because this one's, like I said, been in the works for a while, and I think it would be a real show and a real treat with the amount of people that would be interested in coming and checking out this roster.
Yeah. JT Woods is one of those guys who, to me, especially you would want, because of everything you said about his character too. And so if he winds up being a 4th-round draft pick because of his 40 time, it's only because of his 40 time. That's kind of your thing, because he can catch everything that comes at him. He's shown that. He's got separation speed, that he's run some picks back. Plus, look, he lays the wood when he hits, and that's what you want to see. Mm-hmm. And you don't see targeting penalties with him, so he knows how to do it right. So he's someone who you fear, but it's not going to be, helmet to helmet and all that stuff. So there's not too many knocks on JT Woods. And like Van said it's just going to be about how he runs for the draft alone. Yeah. After that, what kind of football player he is. Absolutely. Okay, we'll take a break right here. On the other side, we'll come back. We had so long with Pat Dudley, not with Pat Dudley. We got Pat Dudley on the other side. It was so long with Van McElroy, but it was all great stuff. And again, we could have gone forever with him.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies, plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'EM125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'EM200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'EM125 and SICK'EM200.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Abram Smith with a good run. Look at Abram Smith. They were pinned at their own 5 after the Mac Brown punt, and he weaves his way past midfield.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Amazing to get to talk to him and just hear all those great stories and different things from Tom Flores, who we had in the show to talk about John Madden just the week before, to the draft and everything else. Really, really exciting to get a chance to talk to him. And now we're joined by Sam Bradshaw, Sikkim365.com, with us here. Sam breaks down everything when it comes to X's and O's and film. Sam, a defensive performance like that, I think people expected Baylor to play well on defense, but it was really outstanding in the fact that Dave Aranda wasn't scared of the Ole Miss offense where Matt Corral was in, and he especially wasn't scared of it when Luke Altmaier came in and Ron Roberts as well. I hate to keep leaving him out, but what were the keys to that, and why were they able to dominate on defense like they were?
Thanks for having me on. And some of the big keys they had is when you go back to the Art Briles offense, that a lot of what Ole Miss does is at least partially built on, is it's built on run the football until they outnumber you. And then you've got your deep shots and you got your RPOs built off of that when they give you more favorable looks to throw on. What Aranda and Roberts said is, we're going to coach our defensive linemen to occupy your blockers, keep guys free, and we're going to give you numbers to run on. We just don't think you can get our guys blocked, and they couldn't. And then from there, they were able to run pretty safe coverages while even challenging the receivers because they had extra bodies in coverage. And from there, there's not a whole lot that either quarterback was able to do. Both of them had some times where they forced it. Both of them, they couldn't protect them. And beyond that, Baylor was just very well schooled on what Ole Miss wanted to do. They took full advantage of how much time they had to prepare. When Ole Miss would try RPOs, guys got their hands up and batted it down. When they would try a lot of their motion and those wide receiver sweeps, guys saw it coming before they even put them in motion. They understood the formations, they understood the plays that came off of it, and Ole Miss had no answer. They had one scoring drive in which that backup quarterback made a couple good plays, and then after that, a guy misjudged the deep ball. Other than that, it was a shutout.
Sam, 3 turnovers, nearly had a fourth, depending on that JT Woods call, but it goes against him. But the 10 sacks, what all played into, I know you described some of it there, but what all played into getting 10 sacks on that Ole Miss offense?
Well, first and foremost, you've got an offensive line that's pretty good, but that defensive line absolutely outmatched them. They had no answer for Ika, and you're talking about the defensive coordinator and the head coach at Baylor are both experts at getting significant pressure without having to bring extra guys. So you've got great coverage, forcing him to hold the ball, but you've also got really good schemes to get the matchups you want. They were able to get their linebackers on tailbacks. They were able to get some of their speedy guys on less athletic linemen. And then guys that really couldn't handle Ika one-on-one, they were able to scheme up some one-on-ones for him.
Sam, offensively, wasn't the best performance, and Gary Bohannon struggled mightily. Do you think, for stretches of the game, do you think that was more hamstring related, or do you think that we kind of saw, the lower end of Gary's potential?
Well, first and foremost, Ole Miss did a good job of copying a lot of what had worked against Baylor throughout the year. whether you're going back to the original Oak State game or the TCU game or other games where the offense hit times where they sputtered. And they were well schooled on what Baylor wanted to do. I mean, we're talking about Aranda and Roberts having their guys ready. There were a lot of the things that they'd broken out. I mean, you have a corner jumping one of their favorite pass combinations outside of that bunch set. They got a guy right in the throwing lane on one of the RPOs, and if Baylor threw another RPO during the game, they really didn't show much of it. You know, they did a good job being all over what Baylor wanted to do with a lot of their base offense. And it was a pretty vanilla game plan for Baylor. I mean, they had some bells and whistles, but it wasn't stuff you hadn't seen before. And Durkin and his guys were all over it. As far as what it means about Bohannon, obviously, when you throw for 40 yards in a major college football game, you better be running it all over them, or else you're probably going to lose. And they're going to have to, whether it's his hamstring or whether it's something where he was rusty, whether he wins the job, whether Chapin wins the job, whether any of these guys get out there, you're going to have to be able to show a lot more than that, or else a good defense is going to take it away, particularly when they have an offseason to prep.
Sam, there's already been some returns announced for Baylor next season. I'd like you to talk about both spots if you would. But for one, what does safety Christian Morgan coming back mean? We know JT Woods is off to the NFL, but Morgan announcing his return. And then offensive line-wise, which was one of the biggest stories by far this year, Jacob Gall announces he's coming back. Grant Miller announces he's coming back. Connor Galvin announces he's coming back. And we're waiting to hear on Khalil Keith, but, you know, kind of feels like he may be returning as well. What does that in total mean for Baylor moving into next season in your eyes?
Well, on the offensive line, it's huge. If you can go from potentially having one, maybe two returning starters to only having one starter gone, that is a massive difference, both in terms of starter experience, but also depth, where you can rotate in a bunch of guys, where you can sustain injuries and still be able to keep on trucking. And that is a huge asset for an offense that is going to be missing a lot of its receivers and its top two tailbacks. So there's a lot of skill position turnover on offense. So being able to have your offensive line and tight end group intact and return both quarterbacks, that's a huge help when you've got massive turnover on the other part of the offense. And then defensively, Christian Morgan's very athletic safety. He's a piece that you could potentially even see him sliding down into Petrie's spot at the star situationally. But he's typically at that deep safety. So between him and Devin Neal, you've got at least a decent starting two, and you got Lorando Johnson, who got a lot of play as kind of a dime extra star player when they go against four receiver sets. It at least solidifies one of those spots. And there's certainly going to be some inexperience on the back end of that defense. So getting a guy with that many snaps under his belt, like Morgan, who also has a lot of athletic upside that can fit a number of spots on defense for you, it's invaluable.
Sam, they moved Abram Smith from linebacker to running back because they weren't thrilled with obviously they didn't have the guys they thought could do what they needed to do in this wide zone offense in the running back room. Do you think another year in will help the guys like Tay McWilliams and, of course, some of the younger guys like Jordan Jenkins and Richard Reese? Well, of course, Richard Reese will be, just on campus, but do you think they'll help them understand this scheme a little bit better so they can do what they want to do, or do you think that running back might be a position we need to watch in the transfer portal?
I think both, honestly. I think you can see guys get better depending on the guy, depending on the amount of work they have, and depending on their running style. The thing is, with a lot of zone schemes, vision is the key, and some guys have it, some guys don't, but some guys, it's just a matter of coaching points because they generally get it, but they just don't have a feel for it yet. Others, they're just not going to get it. So you probably have a little bit of both in that room right now. So I do think if they find somebody proven that fits the system that they know can walk in and solidify that spot, they'll take them. But I also got to think they've got one or two guys in that room that if they had to play the next season tomorrow, they'd be comfortable doing just that.
You mentioned wide receiver. R.J. Sneed did announce that he's going to be leaving, taking his 6th year to another institution. And Sam, Drew Estrada graduates. Tyquan Thornton's moving off to the NFL. And quite frankly, we just didn't see a whole lot of the rest of the receivers. I mean, maybe a splash of Hal Presley at times, but a lot of unproven there. What are your thoughts on the Baylor wide receiver room?
It is a lot of unproven and a lot of speed. The amount of 100-meter burners that you have in that room is incredible. So depending on who gets on the field, I have no doubt about their ability to hit the big play, but how well do they run routes? How well do they catch? How well do they sell things? How do they come out of those breaks? That's something that remains to be seen. How well do they block? You know, you haven't seen too much of those guys. You've seen them come in and sporadically make big plays, and Monterey Baldwin made an absolutely huge play in the Sugar Bowl. But at the same time, that's a handoff. That's not going downfield, setting somebody up and breaking your route at the right depth and then doing something with it after the catch. That's everybody on defense looking to stop the wide zone in the opposite direction and you running where they're not. So it's a to be determined. These guys were recruited for a reason, and they absolutely have speed to burn. So there's definitely big play potential there, but I would be very surprised if Baylor didn't at least make an effort to bring in somebody a little more seasoned in the transfer portal.
Sam, when it comes to this offense and what they ask of the receivers, it is not necessarily a simple task. They need their guys to block downfield, and it's not and there's no route tree like the Browse offense. I'm not trying to dig on the Browse offense. It's just that offense didn't have a route tree. This one kind of does, and there are some differences in what they want from those receivers, isn't there?
Yeah, and with this offense, you want the ability to take the top off the defense, but you also got to be able to do a lot of the ball control routes. You also got to be able to block, and you've got to wear a lot more hats. Whereas in the old Bryle scheme, a lot of the receivers, you were going deep, or you were breaking slant routes or post routes over the middle, or you were doing some stop routes. It really wasn't the full route tree, whereas here it's very much a pro West Coast style passing game attached to this wide zone scheme. And you really have to have guys that can handle a number of different things. And that's why you saw a couple of the guys that may not be the fastest in that room get a lot of playing time over the last season, because they could catch the ball, do something with it after the catch, even if they aren't going to pull away from everybody. They're very good with their hands, very good with their routes, very good at setting up the defender. And yeah, time will tell what they have, but it's been a great year. The offense turned around, and if you gave me the choice of the 2021 to 2022 transition or the transition they had last year, where if I have to choose between I don't know what I have on the offensive line and at quarterback, and compare that to I don't know what I have at receiver, but I know what I have at the line of quarterback, I'll take the line and quarterback every day.
Going back to that Monterey Baldwin play, how brilliant was the timing on that? And, that's a type of play that we've seen them try to, get to pop with Estrada, just to no avail throughout the year. But, clearly Ole Miss not expecting little Monterey Baldwin to get in on the action. I thought that was kind of brilliant timing for an offense that was struggling.
Right. It's one of those plays that just kind of lulls you to sleep, because they run that counter wide receiver motion both to the play side and away side so many times. And they almost popped it earlier. If the tight end gets a little better block earlier in the game, Estrada might have been off to the races. I didn't get a good look at the behind the formation camera, but at the very least, he's getting 10 plus yards when he ran it earlier. But tight end couldn't quite get his block. And so it went for like 1 yard, or I think. And, it's a great play call, but it's also one of the basic constraints that they build into this offense. That and the quarterback option to the backside are two of the main ways they kind of hold people accountable on the backside without having to have the running back cut back. And, it's a great compliment to the scheme. And the scheme was, even though the passing game was misfiring, even though there were some holding calls that ended a couple drives, Ole Miss only had one tackle for loss. And they did some good things in terms of looping stunts and blitzing linebackers and giving a fair amount of single coverage, more than I expected going in. And for them to only have one tackle for loss after gambling all of that, you weren't consistently getting beat at the line of scrimmage. When Ole Miss played you straight, you were running on them. So if you had a little better performance in the passing game, this could have been a blowout.
Yeah. No, I think we all kind of thought the same thing watching that, is that there was definitely the opportunity for a blowout, given the way that game was going. Curious, Sam, your thoughts. Dave Aranda being a defensive head coach and his pedigree, when the defense performs well, there's going to be a lot shown on him and a lot of credit given to him. But what did you make of the job Ron Roberts did? I mean, I know this was a good unit last year, but, just capping it off, the run that they had, clearly – without this defense's efforts, they're not Big 12 champions, Sugar Bowl champions. But, what'd you make of the job Ron Roberts and his staff did throughout the year?
Incredible. They had, don't get me wrong, they definitely had a couple of games where it could have been better than it was, where things weren't entirely sharp against Iowa State and TCU. But for the vast majority of the season, guys have been prepared, beyond prepared. And the technique, you can tell, at all levels of the defense, improved as the year went on. You see some teams regress, other teams improve. This team, it looked like night and day comparing what they had early in the year to what they finished the year with. And they were physical. They were willing to play single coverage in order to win that way. They were willing to put everything on their D-line in order to win that way, depending on the week. And, it's a versatile scheme. And Ron Roberts is an incredibly accomplished coach over his career. Baylor's very fortunate to have him, because no matter what you think of Dave Aranda and how good he is as a defensive game planner, he's still the head coach. He still has to wear other hats. And having such a coaching mind like Ron Roberts in the room is such an asset to this team.
Sam, I know we got to run here, so if you kind of say this in 30 seconds or less, but your overall thoughts, just 12-2, Big 12 champs, Sugar Bowl champs. I mean, I don't know what your expectations were. I don't remember, honestly, coming into the year. I thought they'd be a bowl team and, flirt with a good season, but definitely didn't see this. You're kind of moratorium on the 2021 Bears.
Yes, I think with the 2021 season, you knew you were going to have an early start that was going to be pretty good. It was a question of what you were going to get offensively. You knew the defense would probably take another step forward because you would get a lot of those defensive linemen you didn't have the prior year back. But offensively, the night and day performance from a year ago was incredible. And based off that, they were able to win some tough games in a Big 12 that was pretty deep, if bowl season's any indication. And, they pulled together an incredible season, and they're building a program here that should be putting a lot of those together.
Sam Bradshaw, SicEm365.com. Sam, thanks a lot. Great to talk to you.
Great to talk to you guys. You guys have a good one.
All right. Sam Bradshaw, S11, does breakdowns on the site all the time. So if you're not a premium member, check it out. He does great stuff. I mean, it really gets in depth. I mean, you heard there, that's just a little microcosm of it. And we have him every week during the football season. When we come back, Grayson Grunhafer, SicEm365.com, joins us to talk about those returning Bears, Morgan, Galvin, Gall, Miller, all those and more. This is SicEm 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness continues to add more weapons to your getting or staying in shape arsenal with 8 brand new treadmills ready for you to run or walk a mile or 2 or 10. And with the explosion of interest in pickleball with instructors Joe Rosa and Jody Thurman with more courts available. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with large flat screens stretched across the weight room with Wi-Fi available, their own app to enjoy news, business, weather, or sports. Everywhere you look, there's energy, passion, and commitment. New touchless water fountains outside of each locker room and all the locker rooms with showers, sauna, and whirlpool. Upgraded PA system throughout the world-class tennis courts with a youth academy led by pro Britt Coleman. Fitness and tennis merchandise available and a tanning bed. I promise you'll look and feel better. You just need to walk through the front door. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness with personal trainers Christy London and Randall Corley. 40-plus group exercise classes, including twice-a-week boot camp. It's time to react today, not tomorrow. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lake Shore Drive in Waco.
Masters of Barbecue, kings of crazy good food, and the perfect sanctuary for sports, beer, and barbecue is Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and also on Highway 84 in McGregor. A menu filled with choices like a great offensive playbook, including 3 meat combos with sides, burgers, and sandwiches, wings, loaded giant spuds, and salads, crazy wings, chicken poppers, big boy fries, and smoking quesadillas, just some of their amazing appetizers. There's Coach Big Ol' Draft Beer, or order Zach's Spicy Bloody Mary or Coach's margaritas and mimosas while watching your favorite team play. Great pecan smoked barbecue, fun atmosphere with attention to detail, including a catering menu, and we'll quote your price to fit your budget. Coach's XXX Smoak on Austin Avenue in downtown Waco and walking distance to the great places to shop and enjoy, and also the original location on Highway 84 in McGregor. Great food, great price, great fun. Eat where the locals eat.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. This is it. This is when you're going to sell something in May. You have Mother's Day. You have Easter. You have things that go on, weddings. But this is a great time for your business.
Exactly. And one other thing we do that a lot of people don't know is we buy jewelry, heirloom pieces, gold, silver bars, gold bullion, watches, anything you may have that you want to. If you don't want to use it and remake something like I did in a state yesterday, and I looked at 35 pieces, well, they're probably going to sell me back 30 because it's something they're not going to wear, nothing to use. So if you're looking to get a few bucks or to sell something or something you just don't wear anymore, I make my wife go through her jewelry box about every 6 to 8 months, and the things that she doesn't wear on a daily basis, this sounds horrible, but I take away from her and then I'll put in my estate counter, but then that gives me the chance to rebuy her something new moving forward. Instead of looking down 20 years down the road and you have 300 pieces of jewelry, it's something to refresh and make her buy something new along the way.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The Sikkim 365 Radio app is sponsored by Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Your friend in the car business at Loop 340 and east of 84. Come by. Let's be friends.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Grayson Grunhafer, Sikkim 365, joins us now. And Grayson, I mean, I can't imagine a better week for Baylor when it comes to retaining guys who can exercise a year of eligibility. I mean, they really, outside of, losing R.J. Sneed, everyone else, for the most part, is coming back, right? And the only one we haven't heard on is Khalil Keith. Is that correct?
No, I mean, we have confirmation from Khalil Keith. I mean, he just hasn't posted anything on Twitter. There's been articles written about him. We've posted that he's coming back. So, to my knowledge, 4 of the 5 starters for this Baylor offensive line will be back next year. And that is not including, of course, Xavier Newman, who will be moving on as he doesn't have any more eligibility remaining.
So with Keith confirmed, Grayson, and I guess just waiting his announcement whenever he chooses to do that, if he chooses to do that, obviously that's big news. But before kind of taking a look at this roster, I mean, just your sort of a week later thoughts as, the fumes from New Orleans have died down and the page is starting to turn a little bit. But, they're Big 12 champs, they're Sugar Bowl champs, and they got it done in the Big Easy. Your thoughts just on this magical season and the way it came to a close?
Yeah, it was a phenomenal season for this Baylor team. They showed really a lot of different things throughout the season as far as growth. And I think that's really important. This team was not the same team that showed up in San Marcos the first week of the season. They got better and better throughout the year. I would say a big consistent with this team was how well they played in the fourth quarter of pretty much every single game this year. They really closed games strong, and that has a lot to do with the physicality on the offensive line and defensive line, and really just the physicality in general of this team. And, that's something that is instilled from players to coaches to all the support staff. If you're going to be a physical brand of football, it's got to come from every single person that has anything to do with Baylor football. So that was really impressive to me. And to go into the Sugar Bowl and really just absolutely dominate both line of scrimmages, it was really impressive and a great way to end the season with a Sugar Bowl 12-win season. And now it's just about how can you get better and build upon that. And when you return 4 of your 5 offensive linemen for a group that was in the top 10 in rushing yards per game, that's a great start.
Grayson, who's the left guard then? That's the question they have in the offensive line, right? Who's the left guard?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I think, you look across the offensive line and you feel pretty good about what they got returning. All 4 of these guys played really, really well this season, and they got more cohesive as the season went on. I know a lot of people have been asking about Gavin Byers. He's a guy who played a lot this year before eventually losing his right tackle spot to Khalil Keith. And so I think Byers could be a candidate to play guard next year, but I really do think that in the long run, it would be great for him to finally get his redshirt year and then, use 4 games this year as need be, but try to redshirt, and that way he'll be the right tackle for the last 2 seasons of his eligibility for 2023 and 2024. So I think right now my bet is that Micah Maskua will probably slide into that guard role that will be open with Xavier Newman-Johnson leaving. That is my guess right now. Obviously, a lot of freshmen coming in who could play a factor in that. But right now, I think it's probably going to be between Byers and Maskua, and I would give Maskua the edge right now.
So, Grayson, I know you got a lot of content over on the premium side of things. So if folks want every piece of bit and information that they can possibly handle, then they need to go sign up for Sikkim 365 Premium. But in general, without spoiling all your reporting, what's been the kind of consensus you've heard from recruits and potential future players in terms of what they saw from Baylor this year? And how much does that differ from the uncertainty that you would hear from guys just kind of waiting to see what would happen during the season prior to the games kicking off in August?
Yeah, they've done a great job on the recruiting side of things, and they've been able to build off the momentum of the Sugar Bowl. I had a lot of quotes on the premium side from a lot of different players just talking about the culture, the trajectory of the program, the coaching, just all kinds of positives that lead you to believe that, man, a lot of these recruits are really seeing the progression that Dave Aranda had in year number 2 and are really saying this is more indicative of the Baylor program under Coach Aranda. And I think they know that there's something special building. I heard that multiple times. There's something special building at Baylor. I've heard that from a lot of recruits, and that's really important. And so that's been the overall kind of view that I've gotten from 2023 and 2024 guys. And as far as transfers go, Baylor's going to have some opportunities to take some transfers this year. And I think there's a lot of interest. A lot of guys see what they were able to do this year and kind of are trying to figure out how could I fit into that and how could I help elevate this program, while also understanding that Baylor does have some open spots available for playing time. And, they're losing some really talented guys. And so they might try to fill that with the transfer portal. And I think that's working well. They missed out on Taki Tamani, the defensive lineman out of Washington who committed to Oregon. That's a miss. Obviously, Ryan Watts committed to Texas. That was another miss. But I will say there are a lot of names, a lot of guys getting evaluated. And Baylor has shown that they do a great job recruiting the transfer portal. So I think people should feel really comfortable with where Baylor's going to go in that direction and how it could improve the overall roster.
Last year was 4 transfers that they took, which I remember at the time we just talked about it. We thought was a little bit low given what we thought their needs were, and they all 4 contributed and it worked out. What do you think the number will be this year?
Yeah, I actually think it could be more than that. I think it's probably going to be somewhere between 5 and 7. It's just the way that college football is trending these days. And yeah, Baylor didn't take a lot of, transfers last year, but a big reason for it is, if you look at their defense, they have so many veterans start for them on the defensive side. There weren't a lot of holes to fill. Obviously, they had to get to work on the offensive line with Grant Miller and Jacob Gall, and then, of course, Drew Estrada. But yeah, I think this year there's more holes to fill. You're talking about Jalen Petrie gone, JT Woods gone, Trell Bernard gone. There's some big spots left open. I think they could take a cornerback as well to play alongside Al Walcott since Tejada and Barnes are gone. I think they could take an offensive lineman, maybe more of a developmental offensive lineman who they feel like could add depth to the room, not necessarily be a starter. So yeah, there's still some areas to address. I think running back and wide receiver are 2 areas that they'll definitely look at as well, as they have a lot of young guys and a lot of unproven guys at both of those positions. So yeah, a lot of areas for Baylor to address in the transfer portal, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about the possibility of running back, and I thought that they would probably take a look at the portal. So you agree? Despite having Richard Reese and Jordan Jenkins and Tay McWilliams and Squirrel Williams, still think they'll look at running back.
Yeah, the problem with the running back position is, what Squirrel are we going to see? Squirrel hasn't been healthy in over a year and a half, so he's the most proven one. And there are some major question marks about what he can bring to the table. And I think one thing we know for sure is Squirrel's probably never going to be a 20-carry guy anymore. I think he's going to be more so used as essentially in the slot, more so, 5 or so carries a game. Probably not going to get up in that 20-carry realm. That's where you're going to look at Jordan Jenkins and probably Tay McWilliams as the 2 guys as you're kind of looking at. Those could probably be the 2-headed monster. Maybe Quaylen Jones fits into the equation as well. But we're talking about guys who really don't have very many proven carries, carries in big games. And I think that is a reason why you would go and say, hey, maybe we could find a running back who's very proven, a 1,000-yard rusher who we feel like can come in and give these young guys another year to grow. And maybe you get them carries, but maybe you don't give them the Abram Smith workload. You're able to give more of a workload to a proven guy, a senior, who maybe has some skins on the wall, who knows the offense well.
Grayson, final thing for you. Austin Novosad, the quarterback commit, he looks to be turning some heads down in either All-American Bowl practices, I guess. So what have you been seeing and kind of gleaming from what people have been saying about Austin Novosad?
Yeah, that's the National Combine down in San Antonio. Obviously, the All-American Bowl down there is going to happen this weekend. So he's just down there for one of the combines that they do. It's kind of an interesting one. Every year there's a lot of kids from out of state that actually go to that camp. It's very national. Kids are coming down to watch the All-American Bowl as well. So yeah, it's no surprise, guys. Austin Novosad, he's a 4-star according to our rankings on Pick'em 365. I think the national rankings are going to catch up sooner rather than later. And he's a kid who can flat out throw the football. He's district MVP the last 2 seasons for a reason. He can absolutely sling it, and is a guy who fits exactly what Baylor is trying to do as far as the wide zone offense goes. And I think any offense that throws the ball a lot, and also any offense that really wants to protect the quarterback and give them time to really scan the field and make those really tough throws against 3-man fronts and against different schemes, he's a perfect fit for that because he can make every single throw if he's given the time. Now, he's not a true dual threat quarterback by any means, but he is a guy who you look at and you go, man, he's got the arm talent to make every single throw in this offense. And that's why a lot of schools are going to end up recruiting him. And that's why a lot of schools and a lot of people are talking about him right now, because honestly, a camp setting for a kid like Austin Novosad is absolutely the perfect spot for him, because you're going to get to see his ability to make all those different throws against, 7-on-7 or against 1-on-1 coverages, which really is just not very fair given his skill set.
Grayson Grunhaber, Sikkim365.com. Grayson, thanks a lot for joining us. I'm sorry I had to get you to remind me. Craig and I are in this like phantom zone of doing the show in the house, and it's I have no, like, if you told me, like, you saying that you're on the show today was the first time I actually kind of grasped that it was Friday.
Oh, y'all are good. I figured y'all were struggling a little bit doing the Zoom or the Skype call, so no worries. That's why I just reached out, because it was a big news day. I wanted to talk a little Baylor football with the big news on the offensive line, you guys returning.
Yeah. Well, we'll appreciate it, Grayson. Thanks a lot. And coming up next here at Sikkim 365 Radio, we're going to talk Ode to Joy, our documentary that debuts next week, premieres next week, with one of the people featured in that documentary, Tweety Carter, the Baylor legend at guard. He's next. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Erie Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice, or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com, or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Nitchie Group Insurance Agency. With the Nitchie Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Nitchie Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Nitchie Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment, and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers, and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Altmaier steps up, drives the ball, and it is intercepted. J.T. Woods again. That is his second of the night.
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's Paul Catalina and Craig Smoak.
Welcome back into Sikkim 365 Radio. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, still for today, and hopefully next week we'll be back in the studio all together again eventually, but hopefully early next week we're there. But now we're joined here by Baylor legend Tweety Carter, who I believe, Tweety, are you in Poland? Is that where you are?
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. In Poland, just got done. He had a game yesterday, road trip, all these things, and staying up late to be on with us. And Ode to Joy, Sikkim 365's documentary on Scott Drew and the building of the Baylor program premieres next week. You're in it. I'm in it. Smokey's in it. A lot of people are in it. It's a 3-part series. Tweety, when they called and asked you to be a part of this, what were your thoughts about the stories you were going to tell and sharing your part of this build up to the national championship last year?
Once I got the call, it was for sure I was doing it. No question. You know, me coming to Baylor and knowing the history behind, you know, everything that happened at Baylor and what they were trying to become, you know, immediately I was like, yes, I'll do it. No problem. You know, and to see, you know, us go from being where we was at the champions and Coach Drew and that class hold that trophy up, you know, meant a lot to me because, and I'm pretty sure it meant a lot to the other guys, you know, because we put a lot into Baylor. Baylor put a lot into us, you know, and I'm just happy to be in this position.
So Tweety, I mean, I know that you've done interviews over the last several years, and you've talked about your experience in Baylor and everything they've been through and all that. But what was it like to sit down with cameras on you and kind of dive in? And what did you find to be sort of the most interesting things that you discussed, or just the conversation that you had in reflecting on, you know, the ode to joy and all that comes with that?
I mean, again, just to look back at everything. You know, and knowing what we went through, and you know, like you don't like everybody that was there at that particular time from 2006, you know, from my year to 2010, we all was young. You know, we all, the coaching staff, us as players, you know, and we grew together, and through the ups, the downs, we made it out together, and we never pointed fingers, even when we got laughed at times, you know. We knew we was better than what we was doing early on, and we knew it was a matter of time before that switch come on. And the coaching staff, you know, credit to them a lot. They always made us believe. They always kept us pushing, you know, and things like that. And I really don't, you know, a lot of people would ask, you know, why are you so positive about Baylor? Because I really don't have no negative moments, because everything that negative that we went through really was the cause of us where we at today, you know, and the negative things was us not winning and doing those type of things. So, you know, when you're not winning at the time and you got the coaching staff still backing you, you got everybody still backing you, you got the people that really care still backing you, and make you want to fight and make you want to continue to work hard to try to accomplish whatever goal you need to accomplish. And just to see everything unfold the way it did is just a big blessing. And again, I always say it's a special program, and that's why from day one, that's the main thing I said. I wanted to be a part of a special program. And again, 2022, we're having this conversation.
Well, I mean, you're 16, 17 years old when you're getting recruited. McDonald's All-American. I mean, everybody is in your house and telling you, like, hey, you need to come to this school, XYZ. How at 17 years old were you able to see that you wanted to be part of something that wasn't just, hey, I can go to Kentucky or wherever, and they're already established, that you wanted to build something?
Because I wanted to make my own name. You know, anytime a lot of guys would come and recruit, they always tell you could be the next this person, you could be the next that person. You know, and Baylor never did that to me. You know, Baylor always told me, you know, you're going to come here, you're going to work hard. We got Curtis Jones, we got Henry Dugat, We got all of these guys, Aaron Bruce, you know, and things like that. And, you know, me knowing that I'm a competitor and I never wanted anything to be handed to me, you know. Coach Timmy Bird raised me that way. You know, I played for him in high school, you know, and I didn't want anything handed to me. I always wanted to come and work. And I knew coming to games, coming to watch, you know, Curtis Jarrell, Henry Duke got played. When I first seen them play, I'm like, man, those guys can play, you know. And, you know, instantly when I got there, Aaron Bruce, when I got there, I wanted to learn from him. And all they did was help out. Kevin Rogers, even though we played different positions. Mamadou, you know, all those guys, man, they really guided me through my freshman year because, you know, a lot of people, when I say I wasn't mentally ready, like a lot of people think, well, you was a McDonald's All-American, you did this, you did that. It wasn't about basketball. You know, it was about going to school, study hall, practicing, lifting weights, putting the extra work, you know, being on your own, raising yourself, you know, coming from a small town like Reserve, Louisiana, you know, and coming now, I have to instantly grow up, you know, and things like that. That's the part that I wasn't ready for right away. And it caused me not to be my best because I wasn't ready. But at the end of the day, when you have teammates that help you, have coaches that help you, you know, everything plans itself out and works itself out. And again, that's why I wanted to go to Baylor because it allowed me to grow up and become who I am today.
So, Tweety, I know that you've kind of referred to not only this conversation, but when we've talked to you before about, you know, talking with a lot of the guys that you just mentioned about the run that the team went on last year and the team that the run's still currently on. But what has it been like to talk to the Mamadous and everybody else about just, you know, kind of looking back and going, wow, like we helped build this and look where it is now?
You know, we don't talk every day. Not all of us talk every day. You know, but, you know, when we see each other, man, it's nothing but love. Like, it's all appreciation. It's just like, man, look what we had done. Do you see the guys? Do you see what the young guys are doing? Do you see Coach Drew and them, man? Do you see we ranked number one? That's the conversation you have, you know, when we see each other. So it's always love, man. It's always appreciation because we knew that it was just bigger than us for that moment. You know, we knew we was playing for something much bigger years down the line. For Baylor. And again, like those guys, Jared Butler, Davion, and all those guys, Maceo, all those guys that played a part in winning that championship, you know, it feels good to see them because I've seen their work that they put in as well, you know.
What was the group? I'm sure you had a group chat the night of the championship. What was that thing like?
It was, I mean, I'm not really the group texty type guy. So, you know, for me, I was just throwing them on. I tell people all the time, I was playing that night, so I ain't had time to text. I was literally in that game with them playing. I was the sixth man, you know. So you know, it was just nothing but excitement and nothing but, you know, happiness and like, man, we can honestly say we national champs. And a lot of people like, well, you know, that group won it years later. Man, when you stay a part of something, you're constantly there every summer. You know, me and my family live there. You know, me and my wife and kids live there now. And you know, to go there every summer and see the grind that everybody in that gym put in, from the coaching staff to the managers, from everybody, you know, it's just it's fun. It's fun to be around. And a lot of people think, man, y'all always positive there. That's what the coaching staff creates. You know, and that's what everybody else creates around you, positivity. You know, and that's why we was able to grow, and that's why, you know, those guys was able to bring home that championship for us.
So, Tweety, obviously they lost a lot from last year. You mentioned, you know, Davion and Jared Butler, and there's others as well. But we're returning some guys that yet, you know, had to replace a lot. And here they are. They're the number one team in the country. It's like the ride never stops. They're 14-0. They're off in the Big 12 play right now. How much have you been able to watch of this year's team? And for what you have been able to follow, what have been your thoughts?
Oh, man, it's been so fun to watch these guys, man. I mean, the point guard, you know, he's just unbelievable. You know, the speed that James brings to the game. You know, Adams, he's gonna do what he's gonna do. He's one of those guys that put in a lot of work. And you got LJ. You know, a lot of people don't realize how much he brings to the table. You know, and I think he's one of those kids that will continue to grow for Baylor and become something special as well. You know, and the young guys. I mean, man, they just come in with nothing. They come in with nothing but effort, and things like that. And you have Jonathan, man, and Flo down there in the paint. I mean, I can't say enough about those two. I mean, when I say they'll roll guys and don't care what type of shot their players shoot, they don't care what go on the floor. They coming out and they playing 100%, 110% every single night. And, and it's hard to find guys like that. And that's what makes this group a special group, because you got a championship group that has the same two starting 5 men coming back with a new group, the man in the middle. And all they have to do is continue to lock up in the full court and things like that, and turn them into those guys, man. And it's something special to see the energy and the roles that they play, and nobody's trying to do nothing what they can't do. They continue to trust each other, and that's the difference. That's the big difference.
Tweety, you love basketball. I mean, everything about you since I've watched you and known you. You love the game of basketball. How much was that love watered by Coach Drew's enthusiasm for it? Because I can kind of hear it in your voice. You talk about it kind of like he talked about it, or or Coach Matt talked about it. Any of those coaches you had that all had that enthusiasm for the game. You really seem to have that as well.
Yes, for sure. When I first got to Baylor, Coach Tang was a guy that I knew him, from recruiting me and things like that. But, once you get to school, you start understanding everybody a little bit better, and, to see the energy that Coach Drew and everybody else, at that time, the coaching staff had, was like, I know this ain't real, man. They're not going to be like this next week. Like, there's no way they come out with this energy week, and, they always taught us that, you can go through things personally. You can go through things in your life. No telling you can't. You could come in with bad days. You could come in with rough days. But when you step between these lines, for these 2.5, 3 hours that we have, let's fight together. Let's go through this, whatever we come through together. And that helps. We used to have this thing called Camp 5 where, we ran for like 40 minutes. We did different drills. We didn't touch basketball. And we hated that. We hated the morning, but Coach Tang did a run with us one time, and he didn't make the time, and we kind of laughed at him. But Coach Tang, one thing about him, he don't like to be laughed at. So he came back that day. I don't remember if it was that later that day or the next day, and ran and made that time. And that showed me so much love that these coaches have for us, not to let us down. So I felt in my heart, and what I tried to be a leader about is not to let them down, and we all felt that way, to see those guys putting that work with us, time after time. Again, getting laughed at, after some games, and Baylor is not this or not that, and they're not judge us or not give up on us. That's what keep me going and keep me excited about Baylor and what they're doing now in the future.
So, Tweety, this is going to drop, I guess, the first episode on Monday, a 3-parter, as Paul mentioned earlier. Tons of people, including yourself, were interviewed for this. How excited are you? Did you get to see the trailer, and how excited are you to kind of see the finished product?
I want to see I just want to see it when it drops. I know it's going to be special. A lot of people ask me, will I watch the trailer and things like, I don't want to see anything until it drops. I just can't wait. I know it's gonna be special. And I'm excited to see it, and I'm just grateful and thankful to be a part of this.
Tweety, I haven't seen it yet. I just talked to a couple of people involved, and they said that your part really comes off great. Said you have every emotion when it comes to talking about Baylor and Scott Drew and this program and the coaches. That you have all of them, and you just wear it all out there, and it really plays great.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. Tweety, could you imagine 17, 18-year-old Tweety Carter, and then looking forward, nearly 15, 20 years later, you're sitting down to do a full-blown documentary on a Baylor national title team? Like, how surreal is that?
Nah, it's man, I didn't, you want things to happen sooner than they always do, but it's, man, like, dang, like, dang, they really won a national championship, and you know, like it's a blessing, man, to see all of the work over those, like you said, 15 years, 20 years down the line, you know, all that hard work, all that trust that the coaching staff had to put in one another, the players had to put in one another, the sacrifices. A lot of the players make the sacrifices, the coaches make the sacrifices, the university, the fans, everybody made to be a part of this. You know, that's true to Baylor. Understand the road that we had to take and get where we at today. You know, and I'm just thankful to be a part of it. And I forgot about one guy, Matthew Myers. You know, you know, to see him play, man. You know, to go back to what you said about the guys that's there now, the core group. He's a senior now, you know, and things like that. To see them guys, you know, sacrifice and willing to just play within the team, believe in Coach Drew's system. That's why they're number one. You know, that's why they're number one right now, because everybody trusting each other. Everybody's taking sacrifices game after game to take less shots, more shots, and they're doing it together, man. And that's why that fist becomes so strong, you know. And that's what I love about them, you know, that they're just sacrificing for each other and doing whatever they need to do to be better and to win another national championship.
Tweety, Matthew Meyer, I think, is one of the coaching. The reason, if you want to look at what they can do to change a player's game or develop a player's game, not necessarily change it, but find what their skill set is, Matthew Meyer's the one. I mean, I'm sure you remember his freshman year where if he didn't shoot the ball in about 2 seconds of getting on the floor, he was he was mad.
Yes, sir. I mean, that was quick trigger right there. You know, to see him grow, to see him, you know, settle himself down and understand the game more and more, man. He's for sure going to be something special on the next level. You know, I love watching him play, and I got a lot of respect for him. A lot of people don't know, me and Matt Meyer used to play one-on-one so much. You know, I think it was his freshman or sophomore year, we used to play one-on-one so much, man. And that guy is so talented, and he's hard to guard. A lot of them are hard to guard. I can't say a lot of them are hard to guard, but we're speaking on Matthew Meyer right now, and he's one of the good ones, man. I can't wait to see him continue to grow and continue to help this team be successful.
Did you see the play he made the other night against Oklahoma, the block, steal, and fast break? Did you get to see that yet?
No, I didn't see that. I'm about to watch. I'm actually about to watch that game because I've been on the road traveling and everything. So I'm about to actually tune into this game right now and watch it for the first time, the Oklahoma and BU game.
Yeah, you're gonna see him make a heck of a play. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it, Tweety. Before we let you go, man, you're in Poland now, still hooping. You've been all over the world, man. I mean, you've been France and Greece and Portugal and Poland and Croatia and Latvia. I mean, everywhere. What's the experience continue to be like for you, and how are you enjoying where you are currently?
You have your ups and downs in this game. It's traveling overseas. You have the ups and downs, man. But one thing I can say, again, coming from Reserve Louisiana, I'm just blessed to be able to go through situations, to go through these ups and downs, to travel, have my wife and kids travel, see the world. You know, I'm just blessed. And a lot of people, you know, wonder, like, you know, what it's like. It's tough. Overseas, not an easy life to come over here and live for 9, 10 months out of the year. Go home for 2-3 months and you back going again. You know, for 12, 13 years, I belong. You know, some of these guys choose to play. It's a lot of adjustments. You know, especially sometimes when you don't go back to the same team. You have to go to a new country. You have to go to a new situation. You have to go to a new role. You know, you gotta really be professional about everything that you're doing and appreciate where you're at. You know, sometimes you deal with money not being on time and things like that. You just have to really understand that you're here for a reason, you know, and stand on that, you know, because God always puts you in position, you know, to be successful. You know, He don't put too much on you can't handle and things like that. So I always live by that. Just continue to keep my head up and appreciate, you know, everything that I'm going through, everything that I have, you know, and again, like you said, travel and see all these different countries. You know, my passport had to get another passport. You know, it's just it's a blessing. It's a blessing. So I'm just thankful, man. I'm pretty thankful.
Well, Tweety, thank you so much for staying up late. Enjoy that. You're going to enjoy that game. It's interesting. Yes, Porter Moser's Oklahoma now. He's changed up their style. It's interesting, but you're really going to love
tough, man.
Yeah. It's tough. Yeah, you're gonna enjoy that game though, especially when you see what Matt did at the end of the game.
I
was something special.
I have to check it out now. I'm gonna sit here and tune into it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Tweety. Thanks for
Tweety.
Staying up late, Tweety Carter, the great Tweety Carter. Always great to talk to him. And again, Ode to Joy premieres next week. Friday is the Waco Hall premiere. You can get tickets to that premiere at Sikkim365.com. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. I've been told, Craig, that Smoaky and I got a good amount of time. I was a little worried that we weren't going to be that compelling, and they were going to be like 30 seconds and that's it.
Yeah, me too. That's awesome. And, they've also got the ESPN Plus series that's going on simultaneously for both the men and the women. So a lot of airtime for Baylor basketball right now. I mean, between that ESPN Plus series focusing in on this particular season as my screen freezes up, I realize. But, and now this 3-part documentary series is going to be really, really cool to see what all comes from this and, what the reactions are. And I know that Sikkim 365, put a lot and invested a lot and worked a lot on this finished product. So very excited to see it and hope people enjoy it. And it's a good run right now for Baylor basketball. There's no doubt. I do have one transfer portal note. This might not be a big deal to a ton of people, but it's just interesting as these kind of come across. But Jaden DeLora, the quarterback at Washington State, has entered the transfer portal. He's a Hawaii kid, I believe, originally. Don't know if he sticks to the West Coast or not, but he was an interesting player to watch this year. So he's into the transfer portal as another quarterback, that's now into the portal. But I just happened to notice that, and I'd watched him a bit this season, so found that interesting. But it never stops, Paul. The transfer portal shuffle, it never, ever stops.
No, it's constant. We'll take a break right here. When we come back, Craig, let's talk a little Georgia and Alabama. As we'll talk about it a lot on Monday for sure, but I want to talk about it a little bit before we go into the weekend, and then we'll wrap up the show with the top 5. Today, top 5 binge shows from my isolation these last few days. So, especially since college football is essentially over, except for one more game. So that's going to be what we talk about in the top 5. But next up, Georgia and Alabama. We're 3 days away from the national championship game. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Alan Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Waco, our brands continue to win awards year after year. The 2021 Ram brand just received first place in the prestigious J.D. Power Initial Quality. The Dodge brand finished second to Ram, and the 2021 Jeep Gladiator is rated first among all midsize trucks. This month, you can get an early start to the new year with the Start Something New sales event, only at Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by, let's be friends.
The year is wrapping up, sports bettors, but BetUS still has your NBA, NHL, college football bowls, UFC, PGA, and of course NFL betting lines up for their 27th year. Live betting on all of it. Log in to BetUS.com today. Use our promo codes SICK'em125 for 125% bonus on cash, or SICK'em200 if you use crypto. So use the 3-decade leader, BetUS.com. Use promo code SICK'em125 and SICK'em200.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sick'em 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac.
Welcome back. Got to keep doing that. Can't hear myself when I have both headphones on, but welcome back to Sick'em 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Paul, Catalina, Craig Smoak, thanks for watching and listening whenever you have. But Craig, we're 3 days away from the national championship game, Georgia and Alabama, and if you're a Georgia-Alabama fan, this is a hotly anticipated game, and if you're maybe just a fan in general of seeing the two best teams, and these were the two best teams all year long. I mean, nobody can really deny that. But I would think that this is maybe one of the least anticipated national championship games ever.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the final ratings end up being, and with the long wait to this game, I don't know that helps in this case. I feel like a lot of college football fans have already turned the page on this year. I think Baylor. Now, for example, they won the Sugar Bowl last weekend, and now it's already turned to who's coming back, who's staying, right? For a school like Texas, who wasn't in a bowl game, I mean, their last 4 or 5 weeks have all been about NIL and recruiting and adding to next year in the transfer portal. Oklahoma's been going through a coaching change, and they're ironing out all of those pieces right now. I mean, it's a case. Everybody's now transfer portal, coaching changes, roster makeover. Everybody's like knee deep into that already, and there's Bama and Georgia who is doing some of that on the side, but I mean, they're the only two that are, still playing a game, and it almost doesn't feel like there's a game coming up to me in a way because there's just so much other news going on that pertains to next season already. So yeah, I imagine there'll be huge ratings in Birmingham and in Atlanta and, Tuscaloosa and all those places. But I am very curious to see kind of around the rest of the country if, there's a bit of Alabama fatigue or just SEC fatigue in general, or if this was so predictable. And the fact that we saw it just a few weeks ago is also, something that knocks it down. I don't know. It remains to be seen, obviously. I just hope we get a great game. I mean, the last thing college football needs as far as the playoff and all that is for this to go be like an Alabama blowout. I think that would be a horrible result. I mean, not for Bama fans, obviously. I'm not rooting against them, but I just think that would be a really disappointing result to end the season, would be a lopsided game. But yeah, I mean, this is Georgia's moment in the sun. They've been here recently and couldn't follow through all the way, but now they get another crack at Bama, and they get another crack to try to end this long drought of not having won a national title since 1980. So it's been a minute. It's been a long, long time, and they've knocked on the door plenty. But it's about time for Kirby Smart and them to bust it down. And if they do, and if Georgia can become, a new national champion, I mean, that's one of those programs. I mean, regardless, that you're going to keep watching. But I mean, that would put them on a different level. I mean, it absolutely would to have a recent title. And it would obviously, the SEC is going to win either way. But I think if it could be Georgia that wins, when you've had, so much of Alabama, but also, you've had Auburn pop up and Florida pop up and LSU pop up and all win titles. To have Georgia added to that mix, I think would be huge for the conference and just give them, even more bragging rights. But I am looking forward to the game. I don't quite know what to expect. And like I said, I just hope it's an entertaining ball game, because a snooze fest would be quite the damper to end the season on.
Yeah, Jeff Grimm says a Bama blowout could hurt playoff expansion talks. I actually think a Bama blowout will embolden the non-SEC people to be like, look, we got to get more people in this thing. Like, and look, Bama's going to beat most every team they play, but if you give them more chances to lose, they'll lose more often than they do. Right now that these teams don't have that many chances to lose, so more chances to lose in the long run of the whole gigantic, look of it, not just in the short term. I think they will. So,
yeah, I mean, I could see it from both angles. I mean, I could see where it could, be a hindrance to playoff expansion, because people just throw their hands up and say, well, it's, who's going to beat Alabama? Nobody's going to beat them anyway. So what's the point? Which is kind of what we've heard before. But I could also see where, throw some more wild cards into the mix, and let's get some other teams that we haven't seen Bama beat up. To maybe somebody, Utah goes on a hot run and jumps up and beats somebody. Not that I would expect Utah to beat Bama right now, but you know what I'm saying. Just that magical ride that maybe upsets the apple cart. But I'm all for playoff expansion, but I am very much open-minded and listening to everybody's reasons for why or why not. And I do think the party that says stick at 4 does have some valid reasoning for it. I mean, there are valid reasons for going both directions. I don't think there's enough valid reasons for like a full-blown 64-team March Madness like Mike Leach would want. But, anywhere from an 8 to 12-team playoff, I think there's valid reasons for why. I think the people that want to stick at 4 for whatever reasons, they have, somewhat valid reasons why. So I saw where Kevin Warren made a comment, Big Ten commissioner, just a little while ago, and he was talking about the playoff, and it's, they're discussing that a lot right now, the expansion side of things. And, I think it seems like they're kind of getting stuck in the mud on the automatic qualifiers and, things like that. Like, is it the top 6 ranked champions, or is it, automatic bids? And, that's something that can be figured out rather easily, in my opinion. I don't think that should be a hindrance to the entire thing not moving forward and expanding it all, but that seems to be one of the areas where they're kind of stuck at the moment. And as you can understand, these conference commissioners want to ensure that they have automatic bids, but there's others who feel like, it should be maybe a slightly different way of doing things. So the conversations continue, and I really don't know if you expand, which I'm for, just out of interest, if it makes that much of a difference in the long run, but I'd like to see it.
But the only argument well, there's probably a couple, but the one I'm kind of tired of is, well, Alabama's just going to win anyway, so let's just not do it.
Yeah, I don't like.
Well, I mean, like that's it's hard, so let's not. Well, everything we're doing is going to be hard, and there's going to be, bumps in the road. But, if it's worth doing, try it. I mean, try that's what I think.
Well, if that's the case, then why don't we just not have a playoff, and why don't we just have the BCS? If it's just going to be, well, Alabama's going to beat them anyways. Well, then why are we fooling around with semifinal games? Why don't we just go straight to Alabama, Georgia? Yeah. I mean, why play the games? Let's just put them there at the end, at the start of the season. I mean, we kind of do that anyways, and they end up there anyways. But I don't like that as a main reason for not going with a more open-minded approach. But I mean, they're having the conversations. We'll see if anything comes from it. If it's like most of these meetings and conversations that have taken place, it'll be a meeting to, propose another meeting that proposes another meeting. And then eventually someday we'll get a final solution as to what they want to, do moving forward. But it is going to be a very interesting storyline to follow until they come to some type of a conclusion. So let the debating and the conversations continue. But right now, foggy outlook on what to expect with the playoff moving forward. But I think we can expect that we're going to be, in this scenario for at least the foreseeable future, this 14 playoff.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2026, when conference expansion and realignment, when all that shakes out and we know that, and then that way new TV deals, like once everybody has their new TV deal and can set that down, I think that's what's really going to do this. And, some people are just being contrarian to be contrarian at this point, or worried about things that may only have that's what I worry. I always worry about things when you have negotiations, whether it's watching Congress do something or watching the NCAA, which works a lot the same way, or the presidents and people conference commissioners come together. They're proposing scenarios like, what if this happens one time? Okay, then it happens one time. What are you worried about? The majority of the data shows that this is what will happen most of the time, and outliers shouldn't be worried about.
I don't know if that's a product of the last year and a half or not, but it does seem like there's more of that scared to do anything just because of one minuscule reason. And I you could apply that to COVID measures or whatever. Just the whole hysteria and mindset of people. I feel like the last year has gotten just so ran over and over again that. We fear the smallest chance that something could go awry. You know what I mean? Let's just not do it then. It's that's part of the deal, is that sometimes things don't go the way that they're supposed to, and sometimes the smallest percentage chance thing happens. But it doesn't mean you never try. What is that about? I don't get that.
I know people who will go on vacation to the beach and will not go in the water because they might get bitten by a shark. When there's 9 shark attacks a year and billions of people on the beach. So less than 1% of the people on the beach get bitten by a shark, but they won't do it. And that's what I feel like when you say what happens if a Power 5 conference isn't in the top 6? Well, when is that ever going to happen? And if it is,
exactly.
The team sucks so hard, they don't deserve an automatic qualifier. So, you're waiting for a shark attack when there's no sharks in the water. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of other bureaucratic and political and selfish reasons for why everybody wants what they want. But it looks like we're going to be in this 4 years for a while, and or this 14 playoff for at least the foreseeable future, and we'll see what comes out of this weekend's discussions. And go from there. But it's college football, so nothing gets done quickly, that's for sure. So we'll see how long this takes to figure out the landing spot. But very intrigued by what the college football powers that be decide on, because I think that a lot of them, like Mack Rhodes realizes, and I'd imagine others do as well, but I'm not so sure some others aren't just still stuck with their heads in the sand of this is important. These are important decisions. Your game is kind of teetering on, either going one totally different direction than we ever could have imagined, even a couple of years ago, or, just not being quite what it was if you make the wrong calls here. So, there's interest at stake. There's fans at stake, and there's, just the positioning of the game itself and the hierarchy of American sports, I think at stake in some ways. Look, all it takes is a few bad moves and people lose interest. Look at baseball. You know what I mean? It's not hard to make the wrong calls and then lose some fans along the way. So I know that some people have Bama fatigue or 14 playoff fatigue, or my team never gets a chance because they're not a blue blood fatigue, and all that needs to be taken into consideration. And the ultimate decision needs to be what's best for the sport of college football, because I feel like a lot of these administrators have been making very selfish decisions and not necessarily doing what's best for the game, but doing what's best for themselves. And if they don't work together, then they're going to keep making a bunch of selfish decisions that eventually fractures it so much that it's not as powerful as it could be and it has been. And so, I think they're not playing with fire just yet, but there's a little smoke, and they need to be careful and wary of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you run the risk of alienating your casual fans. Look, the diehards are going to be the diehards no matter what. The diehards are always going to be there because it's what they subsist on. It's their fuel. But if you lose the casual fans, if it becomes it becomes a niche sport, then yeah, all this money that you're thinking about making, players, coaches, everybody, it's going to dry up because, you're luge all of a sudden, because you lost your casual fans.
Yeah, and I look, college football is my favorite sport. It will always be my favorite sport. As much as I can imagine, but I also, I'm not trying to stoke fear. That's another thing we do a lot these days. I'm just saying, like, hey, you can turn around real quick with the wrong decisions and be like, wait a second, we were way up here and now we're way down. Like, how did that happen? Well, you did this and you did this and you did this. You didn't address this. You let this run wild, and like you said, that can happen quickly. I'll give a wrestling example. Cable is part of the reason why numbers aren't quite what they were on TV. But there was absolutely about 7-8 million fans that used to tune in every Monday night to watch two different wrestling programs. I mean, granted, this was 20 years ago, so I know things changed. And again, cord cutting does kind of skew cable numbers these days. But the WWE, which has been around for forever, they average about 2 million for their best show every week. At one point in time, it used to be 7-8 million. Now, I don't think that's all 5 million people cutting cable and watching online nowadays. No, what that is that was a bunch of casual-ass fans who got wowed by Stone Cold and The Rock and this, like fiery run of talent and just all the right things happening. And they had their greatest run ever. And then they made a bunch of decisions that turn people away, disinterested casuals, and now you look up and there's 6 million less people watching on a weekly basis than there was 15-20 years ago, and that's what I think it's not as dire of a situation for college football as that, but that's what can happen when you alienate the casuals and you turn them away. So yeah, I think college football's got to be very aware of, there's a lot of diehards and there's a lot of people that will never turn away no matter what, because they're always going to support their school and support the sport. But there are millions of other people that really put it over the top and make it like the number 2 or number 3 brand in the country that you risk if you don't play your cards right, just losing interest or walking away and maybe only, tuning in even more casual ways, and ratings drop, TV, so on and so forth. So it's not do or die time right now, but it kind of feels like it's close to that as far as some of these decisions that are going to have to be made in terms of the playoff and NIL and all this stuff.
Absolutely. When we come back, the top 5 at 5:55. This is Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
American Bank has been serving Waco since 1952, and we're just getting started. Hi, I'm President and CEO Dana Hassel. Over the past few years, we've been busy investing in new technology to give you the best banking experience possible. We've also expanded our downtown branch and built 2 state-of-the-art buildings at our Woodway and Bellmead locations. With bright open lobbies plus fast, personal, interactive teller machines, everyone in Waco is now just minutes away from face-to-face banking. Visit us today and see how we're invested in serving you at American Bank. Member FDIC.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Brad, what makes you different than anyone else, in your opinion, as far as what Boozer's does?
The fact that I own the jewelry store, anything I need to do, will do, or can do, I can do it. The buck stops with me, whereas a lot of places you have to go up the corporate command and corporate channel. Well, if you come in and want to make a deal, we sit there and we make the deal.
And you can find whatever someone's looking for, correct?
Anything is obtainable. I don't care what brand it is, what size it is, how much it costs, large or small. Anything is obtainable, and we can definitely get that in for you to see, look at, or buy.
Do you have have the opportunity if people have to pay things off as far as a layaway program? What about what you have with financing?
Absolutely. We have 12-month no interest financing. We have layaway. If you want to pay with Bitcoin, I can take Bitcoin now. So if there's any way you want to pay for it, we can find a way out to make it work.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55, presented by Champion Salon and Barber. To book your appointment, go to championsalonandbarber.com.
Craig, before we get to the top 5, we have big news. UMHB coach Pre Fredenberg is announcing his retirement.
Yeah, Coach Fred calling it a career. 17 seasons as the defensive coordinator. Larry Harmon will now take over the program. So they'll be in familiar hands with somebody who's been around for a long time. But, you know, at the same time, just passing the torch and all that Fredenberg meant to that program and building it up and winning titles and, you know, doing it again this past year. You know, goes out a winner, and he was a winner. Obviously, you know, Baylor ties as well with Coach Fredenberg. But, yeah, just an incredible man, incredible career, incredible coach, and, you know, well-deserved retirement, that's for sure. Glad that he was able to go and kind of get one back, you know, in terms of titles and all that. But, yeah, just phenomenal era of football there in Belton, and it'll be in, like I said, familiar hands moving forward. But those are big, big shoes to have to fill. And I don't envy anybody having to follow Coach Fredenberg. No, and I'm glad he got another one. And look, to me, he's you know, they all count. The one they took away from him for letting players drive a beater around campus. You know, not really that big of a deal, especially given the fact that Texas has Texas has a $4 million quarterback, allegedly, you know, there. So allegedly. Yeah. Allegedly. You notice nobody really denies that, though. Like, when it's said, it's not like it was like, oh, BS, dude. It's not $4. It's like everybody just kind of keeps moving. Like, $4 million. Yeah. You know, not to mention $2.5 million for the offense, or no, a few $100,000 for the O-line. That's right. Yeah. But no, congrats to Coach Fredenberg. I'm sure he'll enjoy retirement, but obviously miss the game and find ways to still be around it. But sad day that Belton and UMHB fans had to know was coming at some point sooner rather than later. But, man, what a career. So kudos to him. Absolutely. All right, top 5 isolation TV show binges. So I've kind of got all of them up here. One of them I've only seen the first few minutes of the first episode because I'm well behind on it, but already can tell you I'm going to like it because everyone apparently likes it. Number 5 on Hulu, Only Murders in the Building. Craig, you might like this one. It's got Steve Martin. It's got Martin Short. Selena Gomez is in it. A lot of other cool people. Also, it's about murder podcasts and how fans of a murder podcast solve a murder in their New York apartment building. And it's really funny. Martin Short is so funny in this thing. I can't even tell you. Of course, he's funny all the time, but he's so great in it. So Only Murders in the Building. Absolutely 10 out of 10 recommend. Okay, yeah, I hadn't even heard of it, to be honest with you. So, yeah, it definitely sounds up my alley. I'll check it out.
Yeah. Number 4, Yellowstone. Haven't seen all of this yet, but everybody loves Yellowstone. I wish Smokey was on the show today to tell us about Yellowstone. This is one of the few shows he watches. But Yellowstone's good. Kevin Costner. That can't really go wrong with Kevin Costner. He doesn't have too many duds. Draft Day and Mr. Brooks aside.
Yeah, I'll tell you, when I saw a show on Paramount Network back in the day, I'm like, I don't know. There's just certain channels you're just like, I don't know how great this is going to be. But it's like the number 1 show in America. I mean, and I've not watched it like continuity-wise. I haven't started and then, I'm all the way up to date. But I have been able to like catch episodes here and there, and I've enjoyed what I've watched. Like, I like the layout. I like the pacing and the stories and obviously the camera shots and everything with where they're filming out in Montana is beautiful. And I like the actors, So yeah, I'll tell you, 1883 that they started up. I watched the first couple episodes. They did a free to air. I think you have to have the Paramount app to watch the rest of it. But I enjoyed what I saw. Like the daughter character, I feel like there's probably going to be too much placed on her, like probably too much focus when I want to see more of like the rough and tumble kind of stuff. But there's enough of that as well. I like the first couple episodes I saw of that. I'll probably stick with it.
Hey, Sam Elliott Western. Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong. Sam Elliott Western. Number 3, and this is for Marvel fans out there, Hawkeye. Finished Hawkeye, which was excellent. He's an adventure. If you're into the Marvel MCU Marvel universe, it's a really good show, really funny show, really good villains in it. So highly recommend Hawkeye. Might be my favorite one of the MCU shows. I don't know. Really dug Captain America and the Winter Soldier, but
I went from not understanding like what the MCU was when they were putting these movies out, like not realizing the connections that people were talking about years ago, to then get like fully immersed in the lead up to, like Infinity War and all that. And now it's just like, there's too much to keep up with. Yeah. Like there's just simply like, and that's a good problem. If you're a Marvel fan, like, my gosh, you hit the lottery, but like, there's so many shows and so many intertwining storylines, and I need to play catch up in a major way. It's fun. It's just a lot to keep up with now.
Yeah. The good news is it's all pretty much there on one app, except for the Spider-Man movies, which are Sony, but you can find those pretty much anywhere. But Spider-Man also.
Spider-Man.
Oh yeah, it's excellent. Double thumbs up. I mean, if I had 4 thumbs, it's that good. Number 2, and this one throwback to the 80s, but updated for today. We just finished season 4. It's Cobra Kai on Netflix. Continuing the story of Karate Kid, and seemingly, look, this year they brought in the bad guy from Karate Kid 3, and Craig, I don't remember Karate Kid 3. It wasn't good. Ralph Macchio will tell you it wasn't good, but they somehow made the good parts of that movie good in this part of the series. So there's tons of drama in Cobra Kai, and lots of kicking. So, but yeah, it's good. It's a good show. Like, I thought when I first heard about it, I was like, oh man, this is such a money grab. Good for Ralph Macchio and William Zabka, but man, it's damn good. I love it. I love every second of Cobra Kai. I'm never bored by it. It's always got good intrigue, and also I like watching the parts of it where it's very close to where we go to California all the time, and we can see, the places that we see there. So
the Oxnard area. Miss that area, as a matter of fact. But I'm bad about TV and keeping up with it. I have seen parts of Cobra Kai, and it was not what I thought. I was kind of like you when I first saw it, like cheap money grab, and what are we doing here? Like, we can't come up with anything more creative, but I've heard nothing but like incredible reviews for it. I know a lot of people that like it and enjoy it. So it's going to just have to be one of those ones I stumble into and just get hooked on so that I don't turn it off. But I've heard, great things about it.
Yeah. And look, some people on the chat room, Cobra Kai is really good. Yeah, you can't beat it. And number 1, and this is one I just got into, and I really wish I had started from the beginning, but now I get to finish up to season 3. I'm finishing it. But Succession on HBO is so flippin' good. I mean, and it's to be expected. It's an HBO show that they don't have too many, for every John in Cincinnati, there's a Succession, a Sopranos, a Wire, a Game of Thrones, first 9 seasons, and all that. Yeah. But they have that. But Succession, have you seen? I thought you were telling me to watch Succession, Craig.
Not me.
It's good. It's good. It's got all that intrigue. It's about a billionaire and his family, and holy crap. It's very well acted, and Kieran Culkin's the best part of the show.
Yeah, who would have thought Macaulay's little brother would turn out to be the great actor that he is, right? But I actually thought I don't watch American Horror Story religiously, but I did catch the ones that had Macaulay Culkin in them, and I enjoyed it immensely. Seeing him, all these years later, I know he's done other stuff like Monster and other things along the way, but he actually did a really good job in a show that I don't watch regularly, but he kind of had me hooked. But yeah, I've heard great things. Like, look, I'm the type of dude, like, I don't watch Ted Lasso. I don't watch, like, if it's hot right now, I'm probably not watching it, but ask me in a year and I will have seen it. I just will have caught it, like, mostly after everybody else has enjoyed it. I'm just weird like that. I go in kicks where I might go HBO heavy on the old school classics for a while. And then most recently, I think FX has been probably my favorite channel to watch. Yeah. Snowfall is an awesome show. I love Snowfall. I love Mayans. I was a big Sons of Anarchy guy. Sons is one of my favorite shows of all time. And I was kind of hesitant about Mayans because I'm like, this is sort of, again, like a cheap, payday of like, let's just spin off the series that was successful. But I've watched it now, and I love it. I love Mayans. So I'm kind of playing catch-up like I always do. But those are a couple FX shows that I've really enjoyed over the last year.
Yeah, Edward James Olmos was walking around in Miami at the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he was like, he would walk up to people like, I mean, here's the dude from Stand and Deliver. And I remember thinking, I'm like, oh my God, like there's the guy. I thought he was going to be like totally like Hollywood a-hole. And he was just walking, hey, I'm Edward James Olmos. We're like, yeah, I know you're Edward James Olmos.
He's freaking Edward James Olmos. And yeah, he's not like a main player in Mayans, but he's the dad of the main players, and he's good. He's really good and kind of a badass like you would expect. But yeah, that was a show that as a Suns fan, I was pleasantly surprised as good as it's been. And yeah, those are kind of like the main ones I've been playing catch up on. But like I said, I'm just so bad about keeping up with everything.
Yeah. All right.
By the way, tomorrow Cowboys closing it out against the Eagles. Gonna have a little NFL doubleheader. What are your thoughts on? I guess we get Chiefs Broncos first, and then Cowboys Eagles.
That game will be better because both those teams, I guess the Broncos are out of it, but the Chiefs need to make sure they win so they get the top seed. Otherwise, if they lose, if the Titans win, the Chiefs have the top seed anyway. The Titans are playing the Texans. So, but if the Titans win, they've got the top seed because they beat the Chiefs. So, a big game for that. For the Cowboys and Eagles, this is going to look like a preseason game. So many people are out. So, the Cowboys win, good on them. If the Eagles win, congratulations. It means nothing for the playoffs. I hope they don't play Dak too long and get him hurt. So, I guess, it's just going to be that one, especially in prime time, is going to be a bit of a dud.
Yeah, I would think so. But at least we'll have some football to watch, at least in the next few weeks, even if it's not college. And, of course, we got Monday night. But I should mention, too, the one show I am religious about watching, Peaky Blinders, final season's coming soon. And I am absolutely fired up about that. I cannot freaking wait.
Yeah, I cannot wait. That show is it should win every award of everything ever.
Agreed.
If you just want to draw one up on a piece of paper and send it to them, they deserve it. That's how good that show is. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Craig Smoak. Thanks to Tweety Carter, Sam Bradshaw, Grayson Grundhafer, David Ubben, and, of course, Van McElroy, even though this is a couple days back. Thanks to Armstrong and Jack. We're back on Monday, hopefully in studio. Have a great night, everybody.